We're ready? Thank you and welcome. I'll call the special meeting of the Finance and Emergency Services Committee to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? If there are none, announcements. We didn't do any yesterday. Do you want to do any announcements today? Does anybody have anything? Do you want to go? Councillor Ballinger.
Anyone that could help, we're pretty late
Oh.
tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock down the Dalton.
Thank you. Any other announcements? No? Everybody's good? Review of items not listed on the agenda. Are there any addendums? No? Wonderful. Alrighty, great. We'll start our budget session. Welcome, all of you from the library. So you're going to page 79 of the pink page is where we're going. That's the summary page, or that's the beginning of the library budget. This is operating. Would you like to maybe go through it for us, Alex, a bit and give us some of the highlights? If you're doing the presentation, I don't know who's doing it. Are you doing it?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
So some of the lines were recommended by the Township Treasurer. So hydro expenditures, natural gas, waste and water, insurance, staffing, and the Treasurer also calculates the library benefits for the staff. Some highlights, the repairs and maintenance is higher because we have to replace some of the granite foundation, grind and remove the lime mortar joints and replace with restoration type product to achieve similar look, and that's going to be approximately $5,900. The lower washrooms are not accessible, so we're going to make one accessible, and that's about $4,000. Maintenance on the heating and cooling system is approximately $12,000, which was removed from the budget last year accidentally. So it's in this year's budget, and the snow plowing in Zephyr has gone up considerably from previous years.
Surprise.
Snow plowing everywhere has gone up. Ridiculous. Questions? Are you done, Alex?
Yes.
Okay. Questions? Mayor O'Connor.
Yeah, sorry, Alex, could you just, the washroom, I'm talking about under repairs and maintenance. Washroom, what was the other thing?
The other things was the outside, the concrete on the outside wall is crumbling.
Oh, okay.
And needs to be replaced.
Alright,
So that was about $5,900. That was recommended by Heritage Ontario, and they examined the building.
So it's like a parging
Yeah.
do? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Barton?
Yes, Alex, on the washroom, did you, have you looked for any accessibility grants?
No, not at the moment. I haven't.
Okay.
But it's certainly a possibility that I could look into it.
Yeah, there seems to be that type of funding available.
Councillor Hyatt. Then Councillor Beach.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Alex, is that foundation, is that the actual cost, or is that an estimate of what it would be?
That's the estimate of what it would be.
You haven't had any, you haven't put it out to tender or anything on it?
No, I was just getting quotes for the budget.
Are there many people that do that kind of work, you know, on historic type building?
I'm not actually sure.
You're not sure? Okay.
Certainly, I could find out.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. The salaries and wages, I assume that's the increase to the part-time wage? Is
Yes.
that what that is?
Yes.
Okay. And under professional development, you've got an increase up to 8,000. Are you adding more courses? What's the plan there?
Yes, more courses for the staff. We need to have a couple of people,
It's just year over year, you're
certified.
about 3,500. I was wondering if it's a dramatic increase there. So.
and there will be more money coming out for professional development for the board. There's still
Okay,
some to
there's
come
that
out.
too.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Beach.
It's okay, Councillor Hyatt asked some of the questions I was going to ask.
You done? Any other questions? Okay, do you want to go to page 80? Revenues. Is there anything you want to point out there, Alex? It's pretty much what it was, I guess.
Nope, nothing really to point out there.
One quick question.
Mayor O'Connor, then Councillor Ballinger.
Under a provincial grant, we only received so far 1,760.
That's actually not the provincial grant. That's another grant that came from the province.
Oh, okay,
But the 24,176 has been deposited.
okay. So we did get that for last year,
Yes, we did.
and that's an automatic, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Same amount,
okay.
same amount every year, right?
All right, thank you.
Councillor
Good
Ballinger.
budget.
Sorry, Councillor Ballinger? Okay. Councillor Hyatt.
And just on that grant, is it based on population? How do they determine what that is?
They don't know.
It used to be
I mean,
based on
it's
population.
an odd number, 24176.
Yeah, it used to be on population, right now it's just a number.
So
It's been the same amount for how many years? I don't know.
Probably 14 years since I've been here, yeah.
So logic would tell you if you're expanding population-wise, then the grant should be going up, correct?
Yes.
Or, yeah, that's the corollary of it, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the revenue? No questions? Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, we're done. Thank you.
It's a
Any
good
questions?
budget.
Any questions of the press? Roger? No, thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Sir, would you like to tell us your name? Would you use the mic? We're on TV, so, we need to use the mics. You can push that little button. There you go. Go ahead.
So I'm Bruce Garrett, live at 18 Milne Court. My point is not, I've got some others that I'll ask about as well. It's more of just when I see the level that my taxes are getting to, in excess of $7,000 a year, this being the only day out of the 3-day of review that I can look at, there's just some particular things I wanted to, not necessarily question, but just get a better understanding of. Is that okay?
On which, sorry, which items are you talking?
Specifically on this page.
On the library, great.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Just 1 second. So the one I was going to ask about originally was provincial grants, so that got answered already. The one about the room rentals was really just a comment. I took advantage of the room rental for the business that I was doing and found it worked really well. So my comment is there anything done to market the availability of that room? I only knew because of connections within town and within council. Is there any idea or any suggestions to market that and maybe generate some more revenue from it?
We are in the community guide, and we do have it on our webpage. The room rental.
So I'm just thinking, I wonder if it'd be worth doing more than that to try to generate some more revenue. Any revenue would be good revenue, I'm just thinking.
We could try, yes.
Okay. The one with programming under revenues, I just noticed that it showed, so it was budgeted in 2016 at 6,000 and then became 14, and then budgeted at 8 for 2017 and became almost 13, and then budgeted at 10,700, a 34% increase. It seems like we're under budgeting and over delivering on each one of them.
Well, the programming revenue is not just programming, physical programming that we do in the library, it's also grants that we get. So we've gotten a Lego grant, we've got capacity grants to buy technology and things like that.
Well, I can, not to question what it is, just is it, each year it's significantly higher, like 65% higher than what's shown. So I'm wondering if we're budgeting the right amount.
If I can respond to that,
Sure.
if you look at the programs line on the expenditures page, you can see that our actual is higher too. Basically, it's impossible for us to budget the grants that we're getting. We sort of take the grants we do, build the programs around them, so you can, if we've had a successful year, we spend a lot more on programming, but we get a lot of revenue,
Oh, I
and
see.
they kind of balance out.
Okay, fair enough.
That's
Just
what it's
trying to understand. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
And
More questions? Go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead, more questions.
Just
Go
one
ahead.
last question, is about the hydro. I applaud the fact that you can get it down by 5% in a year where we're all facing increased hydro rates based on the provincial situation. So good for you on that. Just when I look at some of the other areas that I'll bring up later on, it's interesting that they're increasing while you're able to decrease your hydro usage. So good for you on that one.
Have an answer to that. Donna wants to answer that for you,
Okay.
Bruce.
Sorry, okay, so, effective January 1st, 2017, the library, as well as most of the other, facilities in the township of Uxbridge were getting an 8% rebate. And then come, July 1st, there was an additional, it worked out to be on average, as a whole, an additional 17% decrease in the hydro. It's not to say that the rates can't still increase, so it's not a full 10% that we can get, because the rates can still increase. But overall, the province has implemented it, so we are seeing decreases there.
But not on all of our facilities. Some of them, not all. Great. Mayor O'Connor, go ahead.
Can I maybe suggest, so maybe it's a bit clear for next year, that we add a line there for program grants, and then, so you've got programming, so we know what that means, but if we just show an additional line saying grants, it might make it a bit clear.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. Are there any other questions from the audience? No? Okay, thank you. We're done. In probably record time. Oh, where's my sheet? We're going to arenas and parks next, and that will be page 53, purple pages. Welcome, Bob. So 53 is a summary page, if you'd like to go to 54. Sorry, 55. Go ahead.
There must be a memo that Bob gets every year about matching his clothing to the pages.
Oh, I do.
Don and I talk about it.
Did you know? Did you know?
Absolutely.
Did you? You too, eh? You got the same memo. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, jeez. What? Okay, go ahead, Mary Connor. I was gonna...
Under the bank charges again, we budgeted last year 2,000, it was for, this year, we're budgeting 2,500, which was a 25% increase, but is that a fair expenditure that we're showing? I think it should be higher.
Donna wants to answer that
Yeah.
for Bob.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Gary, man, it kind of has to do with when we looked at facilities on Tuesday, they didn't have any bank fees. ActiveNet, originally, I think we had planned that it would go live in the middle of 2017, and that didn't happen. But what we will do before the end of the year, because Bob had budgeted that he wouldn't be absorbing in his arena budget the facilities bank charges, but that will be corrected at the end of the year. We'll allocate it out.
So that, the 2,500 is very accurate.
It will come down.
So why, okay, so sorry, I don't understand where the 420,
I think some of
4,000
those charges were coming from facility rentals, which Bob's no longer...
Okay.
Yes.
He's not
All right.
taking those, he's not assuming those anymore.
and then, I guess can I just keep asking the questions?
I was gonna let him speak first, but go ahead. You may
Okay,
as
no,
well.
go ahead.
You all right? Okay, all right. Go ahead, Mary Connor.
Okay, so then, going to the next page, Bob, which repairs and maintenance to the facility, we have 41,000, listed in there. Can you tell me what that's for?
Yeah.
This is on page 56, repairs and maintenance, $41,000 in the 18 and 19 budget.
Pardon me?
I was just saying what page we're on. You're on page 56, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yep, repairs and maintenance, 41,000.
Yeah, so under repairs and maintenance, that will consist of, we have to do some replacement of some interior and exterior doors, including some frames. Like on the community center, we have a few that are, the frames themselves have rotted out. So it'll include that. Allow us to continue with our updating the LED lighting throughout the building, as it's part of the hydro grant we applied for a few years ago for the building. We have a few years to complete that.
Sorry, Bob, are those
Sorry.
doors accessible doors you're putting on? Are they accessible to the hall?
No, we have accessible,
To
the
the arena.
accessibility doors are going on
But
the
that's what
entrance
you're
to the
putting
hall. Yes, these are for other exterior and interior doors.
Great, sorry, carry on.
So, okay, I see repairs and maintenance, Bob, for electrical. Would the lighting go under that?
No, electrical,
That's,
that's just general electrical stuff,
okay,
yeah.
so
This fr-
LED lighting?
Yep.
Okay,
We're continuing on pad 2 to increase our, height of our ice glass. We've added, roughly 6 panes every year, so we can bring our ice level up to 10 feet high from the ice surface up. And it's roughly about $700 for a piece of glass, so that's why we try and chip away at it each year. It also, we have some flooring that needs to be replaced in the pad 1 dressing room hallways. We have a section of the rooftop gutter that, we need to reseal. We usually do this on a annual or biannual basis or whatever, just to, keep our gutters from leaking. And then the rest of it is just general, building maintenance that we come through throughout the year, as far as like door closures, kick plates, dressing room bench repairs, that kind of stuff.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking you to break that out is the last time that I was in the Williamson boardroom, it was disgusting. I understand it's not being rented out now. So there needs to be a total redo of that boardroom.
That's in there too. I actually have that for both boardrooms is in that as well. So it'll be new flooring and painting for both the boardrooms.
Okay, and what about the cleaning of the chairs?
We actually have our own steam cleaner so we'll do some steam cleaning on them.
Okay.
Yep.
So will that get done sooner than later?
Probably get done in the spring to summer, just because of availability for the room and being able to block out a period of time. Trying to find time in either of our boardrooms right now is almost impossible during the hockey season, because they're rented every night, sometimes twice a night.
Okay, can I just ask, just 1 minute, spring clean?
We can still do obviously we can still do the cleaning of the chairs and stuff like that.
Okay. Just with the washrooms too, I don't understand why people think that they should scratch their name in washroom doors and that sort of thing, or sit there and pick paint off. But when we have a little thing like that, I think it's always better to try and touch it up than let it grow. Okay? And the same thing I would suggest is that we look at the community center. There needs to be some touch up, and hopefully we have enough paint left over so we're not trying to match paint. And just touch up the walls where tape has taken the paint off and that sort of thing, until such time as it's due for an overall paint job.
Any other questions, Mayor O'Connor?
No.
Let's go back to 55. Are there any other questions on 55? Pam, you have a question?
Yes, office, expenses, is there more bills to come in there, Bob?
Yes, there is more bills to come in for that.
Okay.
And yeah, we're on target for the office expenses.
And what about the training and education?
Training and education, we actually didn't send anybody to Guelph this year. If we send someone off to Guelph, it's about $1,800 by the time we pay for the week-long course and so forth. No one went this year. We did a couple training initiatives that we hosted one, so we didn't have to pay for it. They come to our rink and did it. But I do have myself and a couple others that will be probably attending Guelph this year.
Okay, when does that happen, Bob?
It happens the first week of May every year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hyatt?
Thank you. Through you, Bob. Commissions and management fees, what falls within that category? Like, what are we getting a commission on, I guess?
That's the snack bar and pro shop.
Snack bar?
And the pro shop.
And the pro shop, okay. And the advertising and other revenues?
Yeah, that is like our rink board advertising and the TVs in the arena.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great, thanks.
Do we get money from our pop machines? We got.
We
is that
used
all?
to-
Is that you, or is that the snack bar? Who
It
gets
falls under the commissions and management
Okay.
fees. We used to get it through Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
and now our snack bar lady, she took over the vending machines from them, so we get the same thing from her.
Okay, great. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, Bob, your LED refresh,
Yeah.
what sort of return on investment do you see when you switch those lights over?
We've seen a big return when we did the ice lights. It's tough to see on a building of our size with the hydro that we use, how much we see just by switching light fixtures. But obviously we know that LEDs are much better than the T5s and the metal highlights that we were using. So we're just trying to chip away at that program of replacing everything as we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough on a building when you're running a $250,000 hydro bill and you're lumping it in with all the ice compressors and stuff like that to see how much 20 or 30 LED bulbs did for you. But we know as best practice that that it is making a difference.
And on that note, the arena, north of the pool.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Councillor Ballinger, the Mayor.
Just a question when it comes to insurance. Like back in 2016, I think we budgeted $60,000. Are we with the same insurance? How does that work? The insurance for the arena? Is it separate, or is it, how does it work? Is that in the insurance pool with the region? Is that how it works? So, how do they arrive at a number for the arena?
Wow, I don't know.
Yep, so we get one bill and then we allocate it out. We are gonna take a look at, the way that we allocate the insurance. I think it needs to be adjusted, and that will be done in 2018.
Thank you.
And we have got a rebate from that pool every year, as you know. Okay. Mayor O'Connor and Councillor Barton.
Okay. Are ice bookings, Bob, going to be, on the ActiveNet? And if so, how much will that add?
No, the ice bookings will not be on the ActiveNet system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it costs us a fortune. Councillor Barton?
Bob, how many hours a day are we running during peak time frame?
Like for our ice rentals?
And I know it would be different in the weekend versus during the week, but
Yeah.
ice rentals.
We're basically sold out from September till, 1st of September till, I'm gonna say, early March, approximately. We're sold out Monday to Friday from 3:30 in the afternoon until midnight. And then on the weekends, we're sold out from 7 in the morning till 11:30 at night. And the rink has been that way basically since '97 when the second pad was built. Now our daytime ice, Monday to Friday, it picks up, it comes and goes. Sometimes we'll have people that come in and run hockey camps and stuff like that, so they'll take like a 12-week block of a couple hours before school. We have seen actually a little bit of growth with our adult skating club program. They're doing a synchro class, which is exciting to watch. And we've really tried to program a lot of the off time. So we now offer, before we just have ticket ice during the daytime, we now offer an hour and a half of puck and stick. We offer an hour and a half of shinny hockey. We offer an hour and a half twice a week for adult skating. So every single day at the arena, there's a public program operating through the lunchtime hours, and we're starting to see some great use.
I mean, there's what, I think 100 primetime hours there, is that about right? How much?
Yeah,
About 100,
roughly, yeah.
okay. Councillor Bryan.
Just one quick question, Bob. In regard to the amalgamation between the hockey leagues, have you seen any pushback on ice rates? Because I know ours were higher than Port Perry's were. Are you getting pushback from any of the parents or hearing any feedback?
No, I haven't heard anything. I thought we would see, or at least hear part of it, but I dealt closely with Craig Belfry from Port Perry during this amalgamation, and Port Perry really made a lot of switches to model how we've been operating. They didn't hold people to their contracts and stuff like that as much, so they tried to, well, basically carbon copy how we're operating over here, so it's fair for both sides. I thought, we haven't heard anything on the ice rates, but I thought we would have.
Councillor Hyatt, then Councillor Ballinger.
Just one other comment, and correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm going from 2016, where you had approximately a $40,000 debit all in.
What page on?
I'm on page 56 and 57.
56, okay.
Going to 2019, where the expectation is that it would be about a $10,000 debit, which is great. So we've actually made $30,000 over the last 3 years, I guess. If I read it, am I reading that right, Bob?
I'm not sure exactly what you're looking at.
Okay, if you look at total expenditures on 56,
Okay.
right at the bottom,
Yep.
2016 is 882,358.
Okay.
You compare that number with the 2019 number at 903,600. You take those two numbers and you compare them with the one on the page below, where it says total revenues.
Yep.
So if you look at 2016, there's a net difference of about 40,000. If I want to call it a loss or a debit, whatever accounting term you want to put to it.
Yep.
And do it in 2019, where it's basically 10,000 approximately, if you round it off.
Yep.
So actually, we've gone up $30,000 in revenues over that span.
That's correct.
That's how you read it? if I am reading that correctly, which is
Yep.
great.
Yep.
So kudos to you guys for doing that. It's amazing.
Did, on that note, did we increase, rates 3% this year?
Yes. Yep.
Was, Councillor Ballinger, you next?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've talked with Bob before about this. You know, we've got time during the day that we've got free ice time. And I know you've been pushing to try to get as many things in there as you can. And I look at it, you know, just up the road we have, Quaker Village School. We have St. Joseph's School. And 10-minute walk from there is Uxbridge Public School. If the board never indicated that health programs, phys ed programs, at a good rate, you know, if they were given a good rate, couldn't those kids come and use that ice? Like I know when I went to high school, we had intramural hockey at the high school, and we walked from the high school to the arena and played hockey. We had a league, and that ice, and I know it just doesn't sit there because I went over there and you've got people in there using it, but it's an area. If we could get the schools involved to come in and use it, we could send that revenue even higher. It's just
Well,
it bugs me when I
could speak for St. Joe's School, because when I was there, they used to go in the afternoon at like 1 o'clock or something.
Yeah, we do have a few schools. St. Joe's, Quaker Village, the Montessori school uses it quite often, and then the high school, they're hit and miss though. They'll run like maybe I guess it's part of their program where they might be into hockey or something like that for a week, and we'll get like a weekly rental for a month or so. Obviously with the hockey teams, but yeah, I'd love to see it booked more. We've captured, I think, we've done the best job we could capturing the before school time, capturing the lunchtime hour when people are out, and then obviously after school is sold out. It's those hours in between that, yeah, it could be used by something like that.
I just want to point out, if you don't have a printed copy of the budget we're discussing, there are some copies here up front if you'd like one, okay? Mayor O'Connor?
Thing, and I don't know whether there's enough people to be interested in not that senior skate, because seniors are a little hesitant to be out there with young kids, because they're not as agile as they used to be, and you know, just to have that ability to move around and not be afraid of being knocked down or running into somebody, or I know several small towns do have senior skates, and maybe that's another program we could advertise.
Yeah, we do offer strictly adult skating.
Okay.
We do that on Wednesdays and Fridays at lunchtime, and it typically is, I'm guessing the age, but I'm going to say there's 4 people that come out religiously. They're always there, and they would be between the ages of like 60 to 80. So they are using it.
Yeah, I fit in there too.
Yeah.
Close. Just made it.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right, let's move on to, I guess we'll go to 58. 58 is a summary of the parks, and then we can carry on through to 59.
I have a couple questions on it. Go ahead.
Sure. Anything, Bob, you want to tell us about in the parks one, in particular up front?
I think I'll just answer questions, and then anything that's not asked, I'll highlight at the end.
All right, so we're on 58. Any questions? Or 59?
59.
Mayor O'Connor, go ahead. Did you have a hand up, ma'am?
Yeah, I think.
You got to put it up, though. I can't see it down here.
Okay, municipal properties, hydro and grounds upkeep. What parks are those? Would that just be Elgin Park?
No, Elgin Park has its own budget, so municipal properties would be something like Centennial Park, like more so the open green space parks. And that takes in consideration, it's basically grass cutting. It's grass cutting and some snow removal.
Okay. And Countryside Preserve maintenance, can you just quickly tell me what we're doing there, other than I know we're doing tree thinning?
Yeah, so we'll be doing our second phase of treatment for the dog strangling vine and buckthorn throughout the preserve. So that'll be a major portion of that.
Okay, and can I just ask on that, Bob, how successful was the first application?
You know what, it took a long time for the plant to die off and brown, but when I was out there with Williams and Associates, I seen the amount of buckthorn that they actually pulled out, because they try and remove a lot of it by root after it has been killed, and they took a pile of it out of the preserve.
Okay. That's all I have on that page.
Great, thank you. Pam, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The administrative expenses, is there more bills there to come on that one, Bob?
Not very much.
Not very much.
Yeah, probably not much coming in on that.
Okay. And, the hydro, seems like there'd be a lot more coming.
Yeah, there should be more coming in on the hydro, and I'm actually working with Jen Beer and Hydro One on what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the amount of like if you take Elgin Park for example, the amount of hydro meters, so we're not paying as many delivery charges and stuff like that. So once we did the retrofit in Elgin Park, I believe we had 5 hydro meters that we were paying that we were paying delivery charge on. We all have it coming into one main meter now, so we're trying, instead of paying a $50 a month delivery charge on 4 of them, we're reducing it down to the 1. So we're in the process of working with Hydro One, our consultants we were using right now, on getting that done.
Oh, that would be good. Tree removal.
Yep, tree removal we've had to increase. We're just coming across more and more complaints with hazardous trees throughout the township, backing on to park space, abutting residential property, and also with the ash tree. It's just driving the cost up for the amount we have to take down.
No, that's understandable. The ground upkeep.
Yep.
It's up this year, what?
So grounds upkeep, you'll see in every budget, whether it's the parks operation or specific facility, grounds upkeep basically takes into consideration the grass cutting for property. We do base our grass cutting on 21 cuts per year, so we have some sort of number to go off of. This is probably the first year that I can remember we didn't call off our grass cutters once. So lots of times we'll hit a period in July when we can back them off for a week or two. Sometimes in August we'll go with no cutting. This year we didn't miss a cut.
Okay, and equipment.
Yep.
You're about at half, is there?
Yeah, there will be more equipment stuff coming in before the end of the year. Jamie's already ordered a few things for our ball diamond groomer, as well as new weed eater tines for our aerator. So we'll have a bunch of that stuff coming in.
And Works Department vehicle charges. Be more coming on that one also?
It's 12,000, the budget's 20.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah.
26.
And then it's
I don't foresee a lot more coming in on that, to be honest with you. We just, I guess, lucky with a good year of not a lot of repairs to the
everything
vehicles.
hanging together.
Yeah, I mean, we get used equipment from the roads department, so we do our best to maintain them, but we're just a lucky year on that, I guess.
And the band shell.
Yep.
Is there, like, I mean, it's fairly low. There wasn't much to do with it this year then?
Nope, the Rotary Club, they did some work to the gardens there, but there was no repairs, no major repairs that were needed to the band shell.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob.
Yep.
Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, just to, you sort of touched on them, on the band shell. Is that 2,400 being put aside for something? I know you didn't have much to do, you just said, but like, are you anticipating a big charge there?
We have it for maintenance, whether it's to the platform stage that they have off the front of it, because we do utilize it for camps as well, so we do some maintenance to that.
Right.
If we have any graffiti, replacing any boards, so that's kind of why it's in there.
But I guess the question is, do you need 2,400 in there year after year, or could that be reduced, do you think? I mean, I can see it if you're storing it
Yeah.
to do something, but if you're not.
I mean, we might be able to cut it down by a bit if.
Could you have a look at that in your?
Yep.
Also, you talked about tree removal. To me, tree planting kind of goes hand in hand with that, or are they totally separate? In other words, if you're removing a tree, I'm assuming you're replanting one.
So our tree planting that we're doing is typically in our parks and stuff like that. Most of our tree removal that we're getting is in high dense areas. Like we're not doing a one-for-one replacement, so to speak, like in an area like the preserve or in a heavy dense bushed area.
So is the removal on any township space that's not a road allowance?
Yes.
It is.
Any township-owned property.
So Ben has his budget
yep,
obviously for trees,
that's correct.
street trees, so this is everything else.
That's correct,
Right,
yeah.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, now we will get a lot of, on the tree removal, we will get a lot of requests for us to look at, hazardous trees and stuff like that. And like I say, we brought forth a report there on how we handle it, because, we may actually take down one tree for every 5 or 6 that were requested, after we explain to the people that it just doesn't meet the criteria for a hazardous tree. Some people just want forest manicured and stuff like that, and we just can't do it.
I know, and thank you for doing the plantings on the fire hall site. When we have money left over in a budget, and I know we scrape together some surplus, I guess, funds, are there areas that you think that we could maximize tree cover that aren't getting it because we just don't have enough money in the pot right now, or like I'm thinking park areas or entrances to parks where we could add more canopy?
You know what, I don't think there's any time we're planting trees is a bad thing. I mean, it's a great opportunity for us to do it. There are things that come up throughout the year in every department's budget where it might not have been something budgeted for, so we're cautious of not saying...
Yeah, beyond your year to year, you basically know what you have to replace. And
absolutely, yeah.
But is there a way we could create a surplus reserve fund, if you want?
From savings from parks?
Savings from other things that you could use to do your additional
have to ask
planning.
Donna
Maybe
that.
I'll ask that question.
Well,
to Donna.
I'll answer that question. I mean, in our budget, we budget every year. I think this year we're about $150,000 in surplus, so we budget for surplus. So we know all of the departments have a little bit of extra money, so we don't carry operating forward. It doesn't go into reserve.
Okay.
We know that, I mean, we can go through all these numbers and you can pick out 500 here and 1,000 there and 500 there. We know if you look at this budget, it probably totals about $140,000 or $150,000 in surplus. We've averaged in the last 7 years about $118,000 a year in surplus. So,
I mean,
we know there's gonna be surplus in every single operating account, and
Sure, no, I
we
understand.
expect it.
All I'm saying is maybe we need to increase that tree planting budget. If it gives you the ability to plant more trees, I'm all for it. I mean, it's a great idea. Do you wanna say something?
I just wanted to say that we should start, when we have money left in the parks tree planting budget, after we've done what we need to do, we really should start looking at continuing that south boundary of the fields of Uxbridge. We've been talking about that. There's a lot of trees that need to go in there, and that is something that you're just gonna have to keep picking at. The eventual goal is you've got this forested section along the south boundary of that property.
So, my
Council-
question, should we be increasing the budget to allow for that?
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. We were, at the watershed committee, we plant trees every year. We've been hesitant to plant along that south boundary because of the services going into the future pool and washrooms. We will begin to concentrate on that area for sapling plantings. Saplings cost about $1 each and are highly subsidized. What do you pay for like a 2-inch tree now, Bob?
For like a standard, red maple or crimson king 2.5-inch caliper, they're around $600 to $700.
Yeah. So it's significantly less expensive to plant a sapling, and in 20 years they're typically at the same level. And I have questions too, if you...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. You're getting your pickup trucks and things like that from the works department.
Yeah.
What would the average year be of your equipment?
Well, that's a wide range.
Okay.
Typically when we get our pickup trucks, they would come to us, year-wise I'm not 100% sure, but they would come to us between like 150 to 250,000 kilometers on the vehicle. And then we basically run them until it's not cost effective to repair it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. When it becomes too much money, then, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then I've got some revenue questions as well.
Go ahead.
So I'm looking here under your revenues, and baseball, you budgeted more than soccer. Does that include the work that the soccer club do in the fields of Uxbridge?
So under the revenue lines for those, that is strictly the money we receive, from the soccer and baseball for their registration.
Okay.
Yep.
What other work do both those clubs do, like grass cutting and things like that?
Well, yeah, it shows up there, soccer does the grass cutting for their fields, but really, we pay them to do it. So it's no different than softball, really. They just, instead of using a contractor, they choose to do. So it's not that they're doing the work for us, we're paying them to do it. So there's no difference there.
Okay, so total revenue, including grass cutting and everything, they bring in $31,000, and with that, we cut the fields of Uxbridge?
No, we bring in $31,000, yes, they cut the fields of Uxbridge, but we pay them to do it, just as we would pay the contractor to do, the Arena Diamond or Bonner Fields.
Okay, so then baseball's bringing in more revenue than soccer today?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
but in the last couple of years, baseball has grown, and we see this all the time in recreation, and it's part of the master plan that we're working on as well. You will see the levels go up and down. 10, 15 years ago, we were running with 26 adult baseball teams at Bonner Fields. There's 6 now. We used to be the hotbed for the tournaments and all that kind of stuff in slow pitch. We run 1 tournament a year now in Uxbridge and stuff like that. But before, and then we've seen soccer come on. It's the same as when the lacrosse, when the Toronto Rock did well. Our lacrosse numbers at the rink, we were running 4 nights a week, both pads going. We're down to 1 pad for 2 nights a week. So it really goes, if the Blue Jays do well, you can pretty much tell what the kids are signing up for the following year. So
And one day the Leafs might do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then one more question.
Yeah.
Under Recovery Trail Skate Park, can you explain that number?
What page, Dave? Sorry?
This is on page 60.
Okay, so we're trying to show the actual, where that goes from 15 to 45.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is, the Trails budget will show in their budget, an expense line that's going to parks. What we're trying to do is capture, the amount of work that the Parks Department is doing, with the trails. We focused, not that it's changed, it has changed, but the bulk of our work years ago, would have been soccer fields, baseball diamonds, playgrounds. Now the bulk of our work is garbage removal, believe it or not, and trails. So we're trying to show, in our budget where staff are spending a lot of their time and where Trails is paying us to do the work. Like, so we're trying to show a proper, line item as to where our time is spent.
Okay.
It's quite different than what it was before. It's not that the ball diamonds and soccer fields don't get attention, we do, but we're spending a lot of time. Garbage removal in the last 3 to 5 years, has more than doubled, tripled. It's crazy.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Bob.
Yep.
Sorry, Mayor O'Connor, before you had something, I think? Can you turn your mic on, Mayor O'Connor, please? Thank you.
Under, the recovery, again, just explain recovery trails / skate park.
'Cause a portion of that funding comes from the skate park budget as well. You'll see a line item in the skate park budget that pays, to the Parks Department for, we do maintenance over there, whether it's painting of the coping, garbage removal, that kind of stuff at the skate park.
Okay, so this is the picking up of garbage that we're being reimbursed for.
Yep.
Plus the skate park.
Yep.
Okay.
Maintenance of the skate park, yep.
Under reserves, and there's, A in brackets. And then if you look down at the bottom of the page, it says 217 budget includes 5,000 for Countryside Preserve and 40,000 for park study, 18,000 ECs and 22 from other. But then if you look up, there isn't any figure in there.
Donna wants to answer that one.
So that was just special for, 2017.
Pardon me?
There were special items in the 2017 budget, and that's how they were funded.
but shouldn't it show in the budget then?
Is there a category for it in the actual? It's
So
under-
that'll be done at the end of the year.
Oh, okay. All right, so, just to Councillor Burton's, suggestion of planting saplings there, please don't plant saplings there. The only reason, Dave, is that you're trying to shield the people along that road from the lights and the balls. So I think if there's one area in the fields of Uxbridge that need some mature trees planted right away, is along that south side. We can put saplings in other places, but I think that we need some good growth to start with to protect those peoples whose backyards we're gonna be facing, okay? The other thing is, we need to show the cost, that they belong, just a minute till I get my train of thought here. Trails, right. So can we put a, trail, do a line to show the cost for the trails separate from the skate park? Just so that we have, if somebody was to come in and say, how much does our skate park cost? Right now, we're using it as one figure. So could we do just a line
Break 'em
breakdown
down.
showing what the trails cost and what the skate park costs for next year? Or this year, just break it out,
Yeah, okay,
yeah, and that's for internal charges as well.
yeah. Councillor Ballinger?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And Bob, just the garbage pickup, are we doing that year-round now, or what is the season that parks pick up the garbage?
Yeah, so we do it year-round. Obviously, the bulk of our season's through the summer. But right now, currently, we have, Jamie goes out from the rink. We've allowed out and do the garbages. 1 day a week isn't coming close to how much the garbage needs to be changed. And we also reduce the amount of cans. We go from roughly 65 garbage cans out in the summertime down to about 18 in the winter. And the ones we keep out in the winter are the ones that have lids on them, obviously for snow removal, or for snow filling them up. And we also, they're placed closer to the sidewalk, so they're easy to get to in order to take the garbage bag out. But the garbage is crazy how much it's increased. Yeah. And just to let you know on that, on the garbage, it's dog waste. I'm gonna say about 80% of what we get in our garbage cans, especially through the winter months, 80% of it is dog waste. They're not fun to change.
Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up later, but now that we're talking about garbage, I think there's a need for more of those bear trap protected ones, you know, the green ones. I know you would probably know the locations better than I would, but I can basically give you a handful off the top of my head that we need additional ones for that very reason, that they are full of primarily dog waste and or, you wouldn't believe it, kitchen waste. I've seen people dumping stuff, and the problem is when these things are full, they start piling it up beside it, and then it blows away, and then before long you have basically a big garbage dump in a park, which to me is totally gross. And I know Jamie's out there doing it, but I mean, we've got to be able to tackle this somehow, whether it's having more pickups or more places to put it. And maybe you can comment on what you think would be the best scenario. He can't be there 24/7, so my guess is adding more cans at least will store it, at least temporarily, until he can get out or whoever can get over there and pick it up. So.
You'll see later in the budget under the wish list, there is money put in there for the garbage issue. Yep. Yep. Oh, it's all over. Yeah.
If I can just make one comment to that.
Councillor Bryan?
As I walk my dog in the morning, and you and I have had this conversation, where you take the garbage can away, people will still put their garbage where the can used to be. just whether it's a bone of contention or whatever, they'll just leave their dog waste or their garbage waste right there. And it's like the worst thing you can possibly see. So I certainly agree with Councillor Hyatt on that. But Bob, you and I have had that conversation. It's
As soon as we
frustrating all the way around.
As soon as we opened the dog park, before we had the garbage can there, the fence wasn't even open, but they would walk to the fence and leave the bag at the fence.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
Take it home and dispose of it in your garbage.
Well, we have a garbage can at the dog park now, but people, anyway, it's a long story, but we'll get to that one later.
Well, it's the same, we were in Goodwood was it last week we were in Goodwood Park? And piles of it sitting beside the shelter.
Yeah.
Like, give your heads a shake. If you own a dog, be responsible.
Agreed. Questions? Any more? Okay, so we're, I guess we're gonna go on to, urban parks now, on to page 61, unless you have any
Just
more
a
questions.
couple questions on that.
You wanna ask questions already? Go ahead. No, that's all right. Well, I was gonna, put your mic on there, Raj, will you please? We're just gonna go through, go ahead.
Actually, if you don't mind, Councillor,
We're into this one pretty deep, go ahead.
I would like to skip back just slightly to the arena on page 57.
Okay.
Just a couple of small items here. Under Community Hall user fees, does that refer to Stonemore Daycare Centre?
You're on page 56?
57.
57.
Sorry, 57, under community hall user fees, the $5,000?
No, Stonemore falls under the community hall rent section.
It's under
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And under sundry revenue, does that include the revenue you receive from advertising around the arena boards and the walls?
No, for the advertising on the rink boards and stuff like that, just give me one sec. It falls under page 55.
I'm sorry?
Under page 55. Under advertising and other revenues.
Okay.
That's for all, that would be all your board advertising.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And if I may, Councillor,
Go ahead.
This is just a thought. We're talking about trails revenues. Has anyone ever given any thought to making revenue from our trail system? As I understand it, if you drive a snowmobile along the Ontario Snowmobile Club trails, you better have a license, otherwise you get caught by the police who patrol it, you pay a fine. Is there no such way we could do that, for instance, with the mountain bikers using the trails?
That's a snowmobile permit.
Require that they have a permit or a license to ride their bikes on the trail. It could be a source of revenue.
I think, I'm sure they'll take it into advisement and have a look at that next year. Certainly not a question we can answer today. Certainly not a question we can answer today, but something I'm sure that, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, for Dave. I can't wait till he goes to a Durham mountain bike meet and tell them they all need permits. Perfect. Yeah, I know he told him it's Roger's idea. And somebody might even say, are you wrong? But we'll see.
Put that in your next call.
Yeah, I know they do a lot of work. Okay, so Roger, are you done? Are there any questions from the audience at this time? Okay, we'll carry on. We're going to page 61, this is urban parks.
Under Elgin Park?
Urban parks?
Under
Park.
Elgin Park?
Yeah.
Just a quick, if you could tell me, repairs and maintenance, what are we doing in Elgin Park?
Yeah, so under repairs and maintenance for Elgin Park, we'll take into consideration, we set of bleachers that we want to replace as well.
Wasn't that under capital though?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
You can't have 5-tiered bleachers anymore.
What?
Yeah, there's a new
rule.
rule that's come out. You can't have a 5-tiered bleacher anymore. It can't go any higher than a 4-tiered bleacher. And then they're also starting to get to the point where they're looking into and I just found this out the other day, they're looking at any time a bleacher is moved, it must be inspected by an engineer. So that's what's coming down the pipeline that we're going to be getting into. and then any permanent bleachers, so if we have a set setting at a ball diamond that doesn't get moved, they're requiring those ones to be inspected every 2 years, even if they're not touched. So it's just some of the stuff that's coming down the pipeline for,
And how much money are we getting from the provincial government to this?
Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you know what, that could put the fair out of business. Because
it could
they
hurt a lot of
bring
things.
in, how many portable?
Those ones are fine because they're bringing, those ones would all be, like the big orange ones,
Yeah,
those ones are all fine because they're engineered and inspected, like that company would carry that inspection, license.
they're over 5.
Right, so we're just talking about like our, just our ball diamond bleachers over a 5-tiered. Yeah, we only have 2. Everything's gone to 4, so, but we wanna replace those older 5 ones.
Honest to God, they don't have enough to do at Queen's Park.
No.
I know.
Okay, so that's just the bleachers then. And I did think I saw under probably capital where we're replacing some of the side benching on the hill.
Yes, that's for the wooden grandstands, the
Yeah.
permanent wood grandstands.
And washroom cleaning and repair, is that repair on the old washroom in Elgin?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the one in the middle of the park.
Right. And are we going to do anything about the outside of that washroom?
We're in the process of a grant, application right now to do a renovation to that washroom.
That would be a
So-
good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Under, Harima Fields, repairs and maintenance, there's not much in there, and I was just wondering is it just regular maintenance of playground, or?
No, it's for, not the playgrounds, it's for the soccer fields themselves, that's for top dressing seating. We've been working with the soccer club, they did have a gentleman that did a lot of their, specialty work as far as the fertilizing
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, and he's no longer with the club, so, we're working with him to take over portions of that job. We did reduce it from, 6,000 in 2016 down to 4,500. But there still will be stuff coming in for fertilizer and that again this year.
Okay. And the fields of Uxbridge, we have repairs and maintenance. Again, what are we looking at there?
That thing, fertilizer, top dressing, seating.
Top dressing?
Yep, fixing goal mouths, soccer nets.
And under groundskeeper,
Under what, sorry?
groundskeeper? The next.
Oh, that grounds upkeep? That's what,
Upkeep, sorry.
yeah, that's what we pay the club to cut the grass.
Okay.
That's strictly grass cutting.
Thank
Just
you.
to look at, just to mention Fields of Uxbridge too, while we're on it, you'll see that there's been a line item put in there for the new building, for water, hydro, and maintenance of the new washroom building that's there.
Bob, sorry if I don't mind me going back to Elgin Park just for a sec. You've got, under that washroom cleaning and repair, what percentage is cleaning and what percentage is cleaning and what percentage is the repair?
Cleaning's around 7,000.
Okay. Councilor Hyatt?
Just with regards to soccer and soccer nets, I don't know if you've been following the news lately, there was this, child, and I'm trying to remember where it was.
2 years ago in Newmarket.
Newmarket? And he was doing chin-ups on the upper bar and it came down and killed him.
Yeah, young girl.
Are there ways that we're looking at now to
Yeah, we
prevent
secure,
that completely?
I mean, and we're obviously not the only ones, but, everybody went out after that, and all our nets are secured and staked, anchored down from the back, and we inspect the nets on a monthly basis and record that the stakes are
They
in
are
place.
inspected regularly, I guess
Yep.
that's my question. Okay, thanks, Bob.
Alrighty, we're still in urban parks. 1 to 62, Fields of Uxbridge. Questions?
Any other questions?
Alright, keep moving. Rural parks, we'll go to, start with Goodwood. Well, pick one. On page 63. Do you have a question, Pam?
Thank you. Goodwood Park maintenance, there's only been 201, is there any more coming in on that one?
Yes, there will be some, coming in, probably another, $2,000 will be coming in on that one, Pam.
What was that for?
For some fertilizer and some infield mix that we purchased.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
then we have money in there next year because they're gonna require, some maintenance to the bleachers, or wood bleachers down there, but we have some boards and painting that we wanna touch up.
Okay.
On the Zephyr Park, Bob, was that the cost to take down the poles, pretty much?
Yeah, so, on Zephyr, there was $5,000 to remove the old light standards.
Great, thank you.
That's what that's for, and under the Leetsdale Park, there was $2,000, to remove the old ball diamond fence. There is no more money to come in, we were able to do that on our own.
Great. Councillor Hyatt?
Just on the Goodwood Hydro, Bob, is it all in together, the park and the hall and all of it? Is it all metered separately? How does it work?
No, it's separate, that's just for the baseball. That's,
So
yeah.
the new addition's not gonna have any effect on that number? It'll
Any
be
what,
within
sorry?
the Goodwood Hall budget, I assume, right?
No.
We'll have it on the Goodwood Hall.
Yeah.
It's metered separately? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yeah, just under, the splash pad, under the rural parks, water.
Page 64.
I'm on page, sorry.
64, I got it.
Is it too low? I'm just questioning whether the 15,000 is too low, and the reason, why I'm suggesting that is that's what we used last year, apparently, and last year was a cold, wet summer. So if we had a hot summer and a dry summer, are we going to overexpend that?
So what we do with the water for the splash pad, because it's metered through the arena,
Yeah.
when we initially opened it, we had 10,000 in the budget, or 10.5 for water in 2016. Looking at our numbers, because we've seen how much of an increase we've seen with our arena numbers, we felt that going to $15,000, it's an estimate how much we're actually consuming, and the rest is covered under the arena budget, but we felt that $15,000 is a closer target number to what's used there on an annual basis.
So it's
Okay.
not an actual?
It's not an actual.
Okay. And under the maintenance, what all is involved in the maintenance of the splash pad, the cleaning of the water?
No, the maintenance of the splash pad is your startup, your seasonal startup and shutdown. You have to blow out all the lines just like you would like in
That's
irrigation.
what I meant, your water lines and
Yep.
stuff, okay.
Yep.
Are we, okay, that's fine.
Any other questions? Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, just on the splash pad, we talked a few years ago about having a water recircling system, and I thought you said at that time it was very expensive. Is there a way to use that excess water for anything, like store it in a tank and use it to water plants, or is there no way you can separate out that drain into a
No.
reservoir or something to hold that water? No?
No, we can't do that. We looked at that, when the splash pad was put in, but the region doesn't allow for that type of recirculation with the water. We looked at putting in a 10,000 gallon tank to hold water, use it for the street sweeper, use it for watering plants and stuff like that. You're not allowed to use it for that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see recirculating it, you'd have to chlorinate it, just like they do at the pool, but if you're gonna use it to water grass, what's their issue? I don't get it. I mean, that's $15,000 of water going
we
down
didn't
the
get it
drain,
either.
if you excuse the
No,
pun. I mean,
no
it's-
pun intended.
Yeah.
even just to do that area would be great, you know, water the flowers at the arena, I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, we went through that process with the region. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think that what we need to do is maybe have a discussion again with the region, that, it certainly might not be clean water, because if I know kids, they get cold water and the first thing they do is pee. So you don't want that water being recirculated, so I would suggest that maybe it isn't clean water. The other thing is that, you know, maybe we could reuse it, in some other capacity. So maybe, you know, over the winter, we should talk with them again and see if there is anything we could possibly do with it, because we're paying sewage
Yeah.
on this as well. So we're not just paying for the cost of the water, we're paying for wastewater as well.
So is this the regional health department that's making this
Yeah,
requirement?
when it went in, we would talk to the region, and we had that argument, and part of our argument was, is it's really someone flushing their pool at the end of the season down the gutter. It's the same water. Do it.
Mentality here, so.
That
So
wouldn't
let's
be the
set
first
up a
time.
meeting sometime between now and the time that you open it and see if we can have another discussion with them. Maybe there's different thought process sitting at the table now.
Different person, yeah, maybe. Okay, keep going, horticulture?
Yes, I have some on dog park,
Go ahead.
if I dare bring it up. Grounds upkeep, so we're going to, top dress that once again in the spring, I take it?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, now, the waste removal, again, I can't believe we're paying $3,400 for people to, leave their waste there. I think that's just totally irresponsible.
I think that'll probably change too. We had a meeting this morning, that was one of the topics.
Yeah,
this
and
morning.
the cost, of that 3,400, the cost of that is, can be taken down because we did have $1,200 in there for a new bin, and now we've gone with Miller.
Yeah.
So right away that can come down. That
Miller's
doesn't,
gonna pick up the dog waste in the dog park?
They already have,
we have a 4-yard bin up there from Miller right now, and they pick it up on a bi-weekly basis. It's a front dump bin.
and in the winter, we may not even need bi-weekly, but in the summer we would for sure, but. So what, do you wanna reduce that, Bob, that number?
We can reduce it, yeah, we can,
12, 25,
2,500?
2,000?
yeah, you can go down to 2,000 on that.
Okay. Yeah, should be.
Okay, and then, and I have brought this up in the past, when, I guess it was when the, Rotary Club had their Christmas, house tour.
House tour, yeah.
And their parking at the, museum was terrible. Understand that, but you know what, we can't take away parking from the museum for the dog park, so there's gotta be an extension on that.
There's an item on the wish list regarding that parking lot.
Okay, well,
Sorry, Debbie? With regards to the 2,000? Okay. Somebody that can make a motion regarding the waste removal at the dog park to reduce the number from $3,400 to $2,000 for the years 2018 and 2019. Moved by Councillor Hyatt. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Question, Councillor Hyatt?
Just on horticulture, Bob, is that all, staff watering and all that kind of stuff? Is that what that is?
Yes,
It's
under the
it's
waste.
those beds along Brock Street, that kind of thing?
Yep.
So what else would be included in that? Like, what other beds or the arena, I guess? Is that out in front of the arena? That
Out front of the arena, community halls,
community halls? Okay.
Testa Park, has one, senior center, Elgin Park, yeah, they're all of them.
Okay. Now, is that, the maintenance, does that include, it includes water, I assume? What else would be in that? Is there, like, cost for machinery? Are they factored into that?
There's no watering under that, under maintenance, that
There
is
isn't
all.
watering, okay.
No, that's all like plant cost, fertilizer, soil, that kind of stuff.
So where would the water cost be, or is that somewhere else?
The arena,
The arena?
that's where we fill up the
That's
water
where you
tank
charge
from.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Barton?
Bob, do we look after the flower beds at the, library, or do they? I can't remember seeing a budget item.
We work with them. We don't solely look after it. They have some volunteers that do work there as well, so we work with them to look after those.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
As well as we'll be taking on the fire hall, taking the gardens at the fire hall, we're taking those on as well.
We can go on to 66 summary. Oh, that's, Amanda, okay. Do you have any more questions regarding arena parks? This is operating, we'll go to capital in a minute.
Plantings we are,
Gotta go to Cal.
yeah.
I was just gonna ask too, Bob, with the fire hall, are you gonna be taking over their new gardens? Yeah.
Oh, so both these
Yeah,
pages are
okay.
garbage? This one and this one? So those two pages are no good, right? Oh, okay. I wondered why they were there. Sorry. Everybody has that problem? In all of your books, page, 65, 66, and 67 should actually be green pages, not pink. So they'll go right into the next section, but we won't go there yet. Where we'll go now is we'll go to the, Arena and Parks Capital. And that is, 75. In the purple. Back of the book, Capital. Mayor O'Connor, go ahead.
Bob, on page 76, playground equipment upgrades for South Balsam for $40,000. Okay, have we been monitoring how well that park, or that playground is being used?
Yeah, so I have a playground report coming to council that will identify, the condition of all the playground equipment, usage level, vandalism levels, all that kind of stuff, and we have a 5-year forecast where we've identified the next 5-year playgrounds, which ones will be replaced.
Okay.
We didn't want to forecast too far out because a lot of consideration when you're looking at playgrounds depends on use, so 5 years is how far we've put out.
Yeah, that's good.
So
And
is that coming this year, that report, Bob? Sorry, Mayor O'Connor. That's coming soon, that report?
Probably in the new year, yeah.
And then just up one line from that, it's Elgin Park accessibility renovations. And then it's got in the bracket town. So,
Sorry, you got in the brackets what?
and then it has 2 in the brackets
Mhm.
for $47,757. It's just township has applied for an accessibility grant for this project. So we still don't know whether we've got it or we
That's
have.
correct. Yeah, we're still waiting to hear.
Okay, so if we don't get that, are we still looking at that? And what is the renovations?
So it's the renovations to the washroom building in the middle of the park. Will be,
Okay,
yeah, it's adding
So
more,
it's
it's adding
putting-
more stalls, it's putting proper wheelchair ramps,
Good.
automated doors, that kind of stuff.
okay, so this is for the washroom in Elgin Park.
Yeah, if we're not successful in getting the grant, then we wouldn't go forward with the project, cause obviously we need the grant funding to assist it.
Okay, but would we, I still think that we need to put in an accessible washer.
In the ones in the middle of the park?
We have, they're accessible in the new building, right?
Right.
And how many do we have in there? 2?
The whole building's accessible, so we have a family one.
Oh, that's what I meant, like a large one, so a
yeah.
wheelchair could go in.
Yep. Yep, and then both the men's and women's, have wheelchair stalls as well.
Okay, so, maybe, let's hope we get the grant so
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
be put in,
Yeah.
but maybe with the other, with the family and then having the other 2 washrooms there.
Yep.
Okay, and, Fields of Uxbridge, have we done a traffic study on that?
No, there's money it's in the budget there under the, request for items considered, it's on that list for the
Okay.
traffic study.
I haven't seen that list yet. Have we got it?
Yeah, we do. I'll get it for you today.
We're
I
gonna
meant
get
to
it
give I
today?
meant to give you the other day. No, we're gonna do that Tuesday. We'll do it, but I'll hand it out prior to that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hyatt? Sorry, Councillor Bryan was first, actually.
Thank you. Question, Bob, regard to South Balsam. So, a couple questions. So are you saying that the park on South Balsam is the worst in town, that's why it's getting done first?
Yeah, condition-wise, yeah, and it's scheduled to be done. When we also look at the one on South Balsam, we'll probably look at relocating. It's in a terrible location beside the
No
train
worries.
tracks.
Do the residents get a say on where that goes, or are you just gonna decide on that one?
No, absolutely. So what we do in any we'll meet with the ward councillor for the area that the playground's being replaced.
Mhm.
talk to them about ideas that we may have or they may have, and then we give them the opportunity to go out to their constituents and gauge the demographics of the age of children, location, all those types of things. We don't go out to them for location unless we're considering moving the playground if we've deemed it as a poor location, which
So you
that
are,
one is.
you are considering moving this one though?
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. So all that would, if that was to be replaced this year, I would meet with you. We'd talk about all the locations, the possible locations it could go to, and then you would have a chance to talk to the constituents, see what type of play equipment the kids want, and then it would come back to me and we go through the process of installing it.
Okay. Another quick question. I know when we did the park in Leaksdale, or got the approval for that not that long ago, it was $29,000. Is this safe to say that we're getting 25% more equipment for softballs? Or was that a heck of a deal for Leaksdale?
No, because of the relocation, so there's extra money allowed in there for the relocation. 'Cause
You didn't relocate Leaksdale at all?
we did, but we were able to do, we used a bunch of the, we used some sand from the other playground, as well as, we were able to save some money on the cost of digging the site that I can't guarantee. So we have it in the budget, depending on where we relocate. South Balsam might need a box around it, all that kind of stuff. So until we determine where it's gonna sit, then we
But
will
as it
find-
stands now, that's one you're looking to have done in 18.
Sorry?
That's the one you wanted. If you're gonna do a park in 18, it's gonna be South Balsam?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Counselor Hyatt?
Yeah, I think you sort of answered part of that question. On why is it 40,000? They're usually 30, aren't they, for a park refit? Isn't that what we decided on a couple of years ago?
35,000.
35.
Yeah, we ran 35,000 for years and years, and we've bumped up to 40,000 just with the cost of equipment.
So any new park upgrade now will be at 40,000.
40,000, yep, that's correct.
On the first two lines, maybe I should ask Donna this question. Why wouldn't we take all of that money for soccer field and improving soccer fields from the Parkland Reserve? Or
Go ahead, Donna.
whatever it's called.
Okay, so improvements, those were more like repairs and maintenance to the existing soccer fields, so they can't be funded through the parkland. And then with the soccer fields, we do try and levy a much smaller portion and then fund some through the parkland fund. We only have so much money in the parkland funds.
So if you take that 150 out, does that eliminate that Parkland fund? I'm just wondering why there's 30 to tax levy when there's that money sitting in a reserve somewhere.
Well, you know what, we actually have lots of, projects too that could be funded through the parkland reserve, but generally what we do is we do fund a small portion of it through the tax levy. Given that we probably have more projects to be funded through the parkland than we actually have the funds for.
Do you know how much we have in the Parkland fund off the top? Like if it's limited, I can understand your logic, but if there's hundreds of thousands sitting in there, and then we should be using it for something.
Well, the number may not help, because there's other things have been allocated to it already, so it's a pretty tough question to answer. You can give us the amount, but
Yeah, we, right now we have, at the very end of 2016, we had 1.7 million left in the Parkland Fund, but you gotta remember that we're using quite a bit of those funds for, fields of, Uxbridge.
yeah, lots have already been allocated.
Yeah, for the servicing and the, new washroom facility.
I would suggest we try and, if there's a way to take all of that money for the new soccer build, I would suggest we do that.
Well, we either take it for the soccer field or we take it for the fields of Uxbridge, that's the issue. I understand, but that's where all the money's going anyway, or most of it. Any other questions? No other questions with the capital? You'll see it goes to 2019, 2020. Any questions going further in the capital budget? Go ahead, Bob.
I just want to point out, just to give council the update, as a result of our Parks Master Plan that we're working on, and the presentation that you guys had through, youth baseball, I met earlier this week with a Ball Diamond consultant to get some pricing on some of the retrofits, to increase, I guess, to make all the diamonds, usable for hardball and softball. So hopefully I will have prices, I asked them to get them in as soon as possible, so hopefully I'll have pricing, on that for the next time we meet. If I do get them before time, I will forward that off to council so they see. But we've looked at all retrofits that were asked by youth baseball, as well as we're trying to set up a meeting with their executive to put a plan in place to moving forward with them.
Great. Mayor O'Connor, then Councillor Bryan.
There's, seems to be quite a Facebook, campaign going around regarding, that, you know, the township should be giving the school board the use of the, arena ball diamond and I don't know what all. I mean, I've heard some stories I can't believe, but anyway, I just wanna make the statement to you. First of all, you and I seem to have been sacrificial lambs in this, and so be it. But I think there needs to be something said to the school board that, in fact, you know, we have to pay for rental schools. We have to pay every time we want to use a school, they charge us. So I don't know why the mentality of the school is, or maybe it's not the school, maybe it's the parents, I don't know, that we should just give up that land for the school board. If the school board wants that land, then they should be purchasing it. They had the opportunity when they built the school, and I'm sure that if that is going to be, and I don't know whether it's going to be declared, I heard at the meeting, which none of us was at, that the consultant is going to say it is surplus. Well, we'll have that opportunity to discuss that when that report comes. But I just want to put it out there that if the school board wants it and the township declares it's surplus, then the school board has the opportunity of purchasing it. But we are not going to be subsidizing the school board when they collect as much taxes as we collect, because we don't have that kind of money that we can subsidize the school board to that tune. So I don't know whether anybody wants to add anything to that or not, but I think we've got to lay to rest the fact that if that is declared surplus after we have a discussion, then it will go up for sale, and the school board, if they want it, it's going to be there for them.
I think it'd be a great deal for the school board as well. I mean, it's not just the diamond, it's the rest of the property up there that we could, I'm sure it would benefit the school a great deal. Be good for them.
And actually
Hopefully
provide them with a future too.
Well, they can add on to the school, they can do a lot of things that they couldn't do now.
It would be in their interest, that's for sure.
But it's not going to be handed to the school board, and I just, I think we have to make that pretty clear. We aren't in the business of giving away a property that's worth probably close to $2 million.
Exactly. Councillor Bryan?
Just a quick question for you, Bob. Has there been any talk, when you talk about making the diamonds more beneficial or fitting into hardball, has there been any talk of raising the fence height at Bonner? Because that came up a lot at the tournament last year when I was there. Because you know all the balls come flying over, they're hitting the thing.
Yeah,
People were asking
so
about that.
when I met with them, each diamond was looked at, what needs to be done to the backstops, which basically at the backstops is just increasing them. A slow pitch diamond, or a fastball diamond backstop is typically, 20 feet, 25 feet, and they have an overhang, where a hardball diamond is 30 to 35 feet, which goes straight up. We also looked at extending the fences along the baselines, because the base pass will go from 60 feet long to 90 feet long. So you have to extend past that to protect, obviously, people watching the games and all that kind of stuff. So we've, the person that we met with has had a lot of experience in the industry and yeah, provided a lot of information. So we're looking at all aspects of it, and he's pricing all aspects of it, so I can bring that back to you guys.
To all our fields, right?
We looked at
Goodwood?
We looked at Goodwood, the Arena Diamond, Bonner Fields are the ones we looked at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, sorry, just back to that question. So there is a chance that you may end up making the fence higher at the
Absolutely.
Bonner Fields? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions? I'll get to, not yet. Any other questions, council, on, capital budget for arenas and parks? Any year if you want, yeah, I don't know if you wanna comment on any of the future years, go ahead.
It's just, you know,
As you can see,
I know
we go to
we haven't had any
2027.
discussion on this arena diamond yet, but the way your budget is phrased, Bob, for 2020, there's a sub-note in there, that says funding of this project from proceeds from the sale of the arena diamond. I'm not sure why that's in at this point.
I think that's just been suggested, that's all.
Yes.
It's a suggestion,
Yep.
hasn't been approved. 78 in capital.
Page 78.
2020 projects.
It's in the notes at the bottom.
Anyway, I'm just putting it out there. It looks like there's an assumption made
Yep.
that the Arena Diamond will be sold. That's how I would read it, not knowing. Okay. So I don't know if there's a way to take that footnote out,
We will
Donna,
take that
or-
out. We'll take that out.
Okay.
Yeah, it could just say from other township properties.
Okay.
If. Okay, no other questions on the, capital? So we're done with Bob. I'm gonna go to, the press for questions. Roger.
Thank you, councillor. If I may, through you to Mayor O'Connor, the remarks you just made, Mayor, about the school board, were you referring to the Arena Diamond? Yeah, okay, thank you.
There's quite a campaign, and I'm not on Facebook for the very reason. There's a lot of incorrect information out there about this diamond, and I just wanted to put it out there that I have certainly not made my decision on that. I'm not making a decision until I see the final draft of this whole study that's being done. And if it does go up for sale, if council makes that decision, then it's an opportune time for the school board to purchase it. But don't expect the township to hand the school board a $2 million property and say, here you are.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm on
That
Facebook
too-
occasionally, and I haven't seen it there. I haven't seen it there yet, Mayor O'Connor, to tell you the truth, so I guess,
Yeah,
So-
well,
is it out there?
We-
I haven't seen the page,
We've
so
seen it, we've heard it.
I'm hardly ever on Facebook. I'm surprised.
But the other thing I do want to say is that, that if people have concerns about this, I wish that they would come and speak to councillor, or speak to Bob, speak to me. Our doors are always open, and, I think that, the school board needs to get their head around this too, that if they want it, and we decide it's surplus, then they're fools if they don't take it.
Yeah, it'd be a good opportunity for them.
And the school board is also aware that there's a possibility it could come up, and maybe it won't be coming up in the next 3 or 4 years, but if it comes up, eventually, they should have their first right of refusal on it.
I'll go to the audience for questions.
I've got
Oh,
more
you're done?
questions.
Sorry, Roger, go ahead.
Yeah. In that same vein, and I don't know if I'm gonna get an answer to this or not, but at the recent meeting of the park study of the senior center, they offered that there's a portion of Elgin Park, the northwest quadrant of that Elgin Park, could be sold off.
Keep in mind, that study is looking at all kinds of different things, and all they're doing is providing us with information. We haven't made a decision on any of it yet. It's just
But
we've
is-
asked them to look
Has
at.
that possibility been raised at all? By council?
Everything's a possibility, but it's not something we've made any decision on.
Okay. Got a couple more questions, I think, if I can find them. Oh, yeah, on the fields of Uxbridge, just to clarify here, in the budget, you've budgeted for water and janitorial services and supplies that weren't budgeted before. Is that in connection with the washroom building that will be built?
It's directly related to the new building.
It is, okay. Thank you.
Sam, any questions? No? Okay. I'll go to, anyone in the audience with a question? Steve, please use the mic. We're on, yes, please.
Not even sure that this is a budget question, but since I saw the baseball diamond in the fields of Uxbridge, for next year, so there's some, it was a 2, bracketed 2, is that 2 baseball diamonds, or
No, that was a note at the
That's a
bottom.
note, okay,
2.
sorry. The baseball diamond at Fields of Uxbridge, just, if it's gonna be built next year, when we were at the open house at the senior center, the consultants were critical of the site of the master plan, and they thought that the baseball diamond was improperly placed. So I Just hope that
We
we're
haven't,
not building,
that hasn't been presented to us, so.
well, just
We haven't
FYI.
seen the plan yet, so.
I'm talking about the 2016 master plan for the Fields of Uxbridge. The
Oh.
current consultant
Yeah,
was
Ingrid can
critical
answer that
of
one.
the baseball
Yeah, that's
diamond.
the older
Let
plan.
me just speak to that, because council wanted the opportunity for the public to speak to the consultant. The consultant did say that they have some concerns about the other master plan, like what we're doing right now is a parks master plan, but there is a plan that is in place for the Fields of Uxbridge, and he had some concerns around some of the space allotment within that plan. And at that meeting as well, there was some discussion about the relocation of 2 diamonds to move to that facility, and that it would probably need to be slightly reconfigured in order to get that second diamond onto the site. So before that diamond is built, obviously,
There's lots of
and based on the comments that we might receive, we're gonna have to go back and revisit that plan and make sure that we're comfortable. I mean, it's always good to get comments, and we wanna do it right, so
Okay.
that's what will happen.
Any other questions in the audience? Go ahead, Mary Connor. Sometime in January, we should have the report on council. I'm sorry, who next? Grant, you wanna go, and then Bruce? Great. Please say your name, as usual, everybody. You know the rules. Debbie forgets. Oh, Debbie's gone. There we go.
It's Grant Baines. I didn't join the conversation here early, and so please excuse me if these things have already been brought up. But, Bob, you did mention about grass cutting 21 times a year in the parks, and you say you sometimes call them off, it's dry. This year was extremely wet, and I was monitoring Quaker Park, and I think they should have been called off because it was so wet in there. The machinery was wrecking the park, so there might be another criteria for you to call them off. Certainly around all the trees, I ran nice circles around the trees, and we got nice donuts, as a result of running that equipment around the trees. King Crimson, you mentioned might be a tree you would put in. A maple tree? My understanding is that's a cultivar of the Norway maple, and we don't want one Norway maples. That tree's an utter disaster. It's first of all, it's not a native Canadian tree, and it creates a very heavy canopy with a lot of seeds, and the end result is it crowds out everything else. Okay? They also have a habit of cracking, and then you lose a tree. And I had one in my I actually have 3 in my backyard. I lost one in the big storm a couple of years ago, and an arborist gave me all that information about the King Crimson and Norway maples, so stay away from them. Dave, you had some good comments there. I thought you were trying to address the point of user groups contributing labor, and therefore there was an inherent cost that we weren't picking up in our books in here. And somehow, if that was a footnote, because if that labor ever goes away, either at the arena or parks or wherever, there's going to be a cost on our budget. And we somehow need to figure out how to, you know, if it's $1,000 or $20,000, make a footnote on that somewhere along the line. All right. The other area that I thought came up that we could do better in the budget area is in standard nomenclature. Works Department used something called payroll burden, which was basically an interdepartmental charge. You had a similar thing, and you were calling it recovery, or cost recovery. So, you know, it's one department charging another one for a service that you might have bought somewhere else. So standardizing those terms might be a useful one for everyone to pick up on. We collect revenue from a lot of users in our parks areas, baseball, hockey, soccer. Are there other users, though, in our parks we don't collect from? And you mentioned tennis was in the list. What about the lawn bowling? Do they actually occupy part of our parks property?
They do, but they built their facility.
Okay, so we don't have to do anything for them. Okay.
No.
I just
They,
kind of popped.
they pay hydro, right, but they maintain their greens and all that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough, fair enough. Now, we talked about all the dog excrement that was going in the garbage cans and the large charges that we're having to incur for picking that up and disposing of it. There's two things there. Maybe we should increase the cost of a dog license to cover some of that, make it as a cost recovery. Waterloo has an experimental program underway now in which they are taking that dog excrement and turning it into energy. All right?
Does it smell?
Apparently not. Apparently not. It's something I picked up, you know, it's a little bit of my reading. You might be worthwhile. Why not?
I think it'd be cheaper when you look at what we're paying for
Yeah.
for garbage, almost to buy and have diapers, dog diapers at the
Yeah.
at the gate. God love
Yeah.
us.
Would you turn your mic on, Councillor Bellinger? Thank you.
I think you'll find out that they probably are experimenting in Waterloo. If anaerobic digestion goes the region into the region for all the food waste, and it'll also bring in the dog waste as well.
Yeah.
And from that, you can get energy, you can get a gas.
Yeah.
So.
Don't even go.
Yeah, I mean,
Knew
yeah,
someone
we
was
just
gonna say
don't,
something.
I just don't have any idea how big this project is, right? And whether it would work in a town of 8,000 people, or whether you need 80,000 people in order to make it beneficial, but I'll throw that out at you. I noticed you have irrigation down for the fields of Uxbridge, all right? And I presume we're using region water to do that? Does it make sense to pay sewage on water we're throwing on there? Can we put a well in to pump our own water onto those fields?
We're looking at different options before it goes in. We'll meet with the region, to see what options are viable before we go to the system, before we install a certain system out at the fields of Uxbridge.
You're looking at 2020 too, Grant, that's where you're looking
Oh,
at.
I know it was out
Okay.
there, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just that I think sometimes that looking for other sources, how can we do things a little differently?
Yep. And the way we have,
$100,000 to drill a well or something, and
yeah.
There's an artesian well there.
is there? You know, there would be of the old,
Yes.
with the old prison.
But,
Absolutely.
but we, wasn't a prison, the old school. We also have looked, and we didn't get too far the first time, but, I haven't given up on that, the wastewater, coming from the sewage plant, which is, you know,
Mhm.
very clean.
It's clean, yeah.
Whether we could put in a holding tank and take some of that water to irrigate the fields with. So,
Or pump it directly out of the river.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
so, we haven't, I mean, that's something that is in the budget, Grant, as you say, for in a couple of years, but we're certainly looking at options.
Yeah, yeah, just trying to think of things, how can we do it differently?
Because you don't
smarter?
wanna take it out of the tap.
No,
Because first of all, you're paying for sewage at the same time, and water is only gonna go up. We heard that at the region, pretty loud and clear through budget deliberations. The cost of maintaining the plants and putting expansions and that sort of stuff on them, so we have to do whatever we can and come up with some maybe groundbreaking, things as far as the region's concerned.
yeah, yeah, okay. Bob, did you earlier talk about Uxpool operations? Was that your area, or is that, I might,
No,
No.
no? Okay.
well, we haven't been there yet, Grant.
You haven't been there, okay, that's fair enough. And one thing in the trails though, and have we been through the trails? I'm sorry again? Okay,
No.
so I'll leave that for another time. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Grant. Bruce?
Mhm.
When it first came up, my comment was, it was part of the reason I was here was to better understand, and I've got to say, I had 7 or 8 different points that I wanted to bring up, and just want to comment that I think council's doing a great job. They've addressed all the things that I was thinking of, challenging what the costs are. The only one I'm going to add, if we can go back to page 61. somebody did bring up about the Harima Fields, and Bob, the line I'm looking at is the repairs and maintenance one.
This is an operating? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Top dressing,
Purple page is 61.
top dressing?
No, the ones, well, it may have included top dressing. Yeah, I think it was, Mayor, but, when it was said, we had 6,000 in 2016, and actual was 2,
Yeah.
and then 4,500, and it was only 1,800, and then we've got some to come in yet for this year. Is it necessary to continue to put in $4,500 if we're underspending each year? That was my only point.
Yeah, no, I just, I mentioned that the club itself is going through a transition with some of their board members who volunteered a lot of their times, that we would, share the duties of top dressing, seeding, fertilizing, field maintenance. We're picking up a lot of that cost. Some of that cost is coming to us. I shouldn't say a lot of that cost. Some of that cost is coming to us. So I'm, comfortable leaving it at 4,500 till we figure out who's going to be looking after what moving forward.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. That's the only one I had. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the audience? No, would you mind if we took a 10-minute break?
Yeah.
Great, back in 10. Thank you, Bob. Your purple shirt, your lucky shirt, Bob, or what?
'cause there's been a number of films, film companies, using that facility in the last year. Where does that money actually go from the film?
Previous to the lease agreement, that would have been rent that we would have recovered, but now that the York-Durham Heritage Rail is leasing that facility, that they could, capture.
Because they now have exclusive use, right, so they would get that money from the rentals. We don't rent that building out at all now.
And in the past, actually,
So
a lot of the...
how much money is that then?
Well, I was just about to say that in the past, when they come to use the train station, they usually just use the train. So we really haven't had much revenue in the past for the actual train station. If they are wanting to go on that site, it's the trains that they actually really want. So I think if we look back in our history, that number would be very minimal.
There was one just recently though, right, where they used the property.
Where they used the property.
$1,000, I think it was around $1,000.
And they, yeah.
No more question? Pam?
Yeah, well,
administration fee, is that any longer applicable because of, the township's not renting the train station?
Actually, that's a really good point. We probably, that administration fee would have been for our facility booking clerk to rent out the train station, which, she will no longer be doing, so that's a very good point. That number probably should be disappearing.
Okay. I know for the train property rentals, it's using the trains and it's taking time for the guys to reposition or set up for whatever they want to do, so it's taking up their time.
What are you talking about? I didn't understand that. Sorry.
When somebody's been renting, for movies, the train property, they quite often ask them to move trains around or do different things, so it's taking up their time.
But that's not in the administration.
No. But I was just, 'cause, the Mayor was just mentioning something about the rental.
Okay.
this again, that the amount of money that Thomas brings into that facility or to Heritage Railway and the amount of money that we're getting, I'll tell you, is a drop in the bucket.
They have a good deal.
They have an exceedingly good deal, and I don't want anybody to say they don't. It's amazing deal that they've got, that they can run a business and have 1% costs on the money that they get, so.
It really was designed to pay half of the expenditures of the building, is sort of how we got to that $13,000 figure, roughly. 27,000 were the actuals in 17.
I understand that, but I also understand very clearly the amount of money that Thomas brings in. And like, we're not talking hundreds, we're talking thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, yes.
And then they have a lot of expenses with that.
Oh, Pam, I know.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, Mayor O'Connor asked my first question on the repairs and maintenance, and you're saying it's inside plaster work. Is that, we talking about the whole thing? Are we talking about a section?
If possible, I'd like to get the whole thing done, both rooms. So there's the one room with the nice windows, and then there's the other room on the other side of the office. I'd like to get both rooms done at the same time if I can, but it'll depend on the cost once they start doing the
Like, are you talking about repairing it or replacing it? Because it's huge difference in cost to that.
Yeah,
when you start getting into plaster and lath and ripping it off, it's phenomenally expensive.
Right, so I do the test first, and that's just under $3,000. And then if you go with the same company to do the work, then what they do is they credit you that $3,000 and they get the rest of the work done. Yeah.
Did they give you any idea that it would be 10,000 for the whole thing?
They wouldn't commit to anything. Was
could
really
probably
trying to
add
get a number from them, and the best they wouldn't. So.
Well, anything I've been involved with, you can add a zero to that because it's hugely expensive.
So
if you want to put it back the way it was intended.
Yeah.
if you wanna rip it off and put up some kind of drywall, that's a whole different story, but if you're putting back up what's there now, you
Yeah.
could probably say it's 50,000 plus, I would guess.
Which I mean, it's not something
Which
we're
is a lot of
prepared
money
to do
for-
right now,
for
so that's why I
something.
wanna do the test, and then we'll
Yeah,
see
no,
how much we can get done,
I understand where you're going
and-
with it, but
yeah.
I just think we need to be prepared if we're gonna do that.
Yes.
It's huge dollars, so.
Yeah.
I just wanna note on the, I see that transfer to reserves, there's a one beside it, there should be a note at the bottom of that page. And I think that 5,000 there, is that going towards windows, Amanda? Is that what it's for?
That's right,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Yeah, we'll eventually need to redo the windows, and we're just been collecting 5,000 a year to do that.
So that we'll put a note at the bottom of the page for that. Shall we carry on, 68?
No.
I somehow thought that was gonna happen.
Okay, so before anybody gets really upset with me and thinks I don't support Heritage Rail, I do support it. And I think they've brought a lot of people into town. But my thing is, wearing the taxpayer's hat and being the mayor, we're renting this facility out, and I know that we've just done a agreement with them, but they're paying a total of $13,000 a year, and here we are, looking at, for next year, $10,000 to start to repair a building that they're renting. So, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I think that, you know, this whole thing is out of hand. I mean, if I didn't know the money that they were making, and it was just, you know, picking up local people in Stouffville and taking them to Uxbridge, and Uxbridge taking them to Stouffville, and that sort of thing, yeah, I could, you know what, I could easily buy into this. But when you know the amount of money that's being made out of Thomas, and the taxpayers are not reaping anything from that, so to speak, I mean, I recognize too that a lot of people come into town, we have no idea what the long-term effect is. You know, they might come in for Thomas and then come back in a couple of weeks, maybe buy a Chesterfield or that sort of thing. So I'm not taking that away from them. All I'm saying is that if you look at this sheet and see what they're paying for rent and what we have to put into that building, and I'll let it go.
I do understand your point, but it is our building, I guess that's the issue. It is our building.
We have a building that's being utilized by an outside, yeah. Maybe we need to
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, just curious, how long is our agreement with YDHR?
I think this is a 5-year deal that we're just signing now. Is it a 5-year deal, as I recall? Amanda? I think it's a
Yeah.
5-year deal, isn't it, we're doing now?
Yeah.
And this is signed, right? This is done?
It's in their hands right now to be signed.
We've
Oh.
signed it, and it's up to them to sign it back.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, let's keep moving on. Page 69. Foster Memorial.
So under, repairs and maintenance, I have $10,000 to repoint one of the columns, at the, back of the Foster. There's one column in particular that's really bad. The estimate amount of work for the masonry on that building, is around $350,000, and that's a very outdated number. So we have been collecting $5,000 a year to apply for a grant to look after the masonry, but we're not there yet, and, you know, I think at this point, we at least need to look at that one column. And I had a mason there just recently, and he said that, yeah, he thought we could do the column for about $10,000. And then, the next year, he suggested to budget another $10,000, and maybe if we can't find a grant, we just keep moving around the building, $10,000 at a time, instead of trying to do the whole building at $350,000 a year. So that's kind of the plan for the Foster. That's the major next thing that needs to be done, is to look after the masonry.
And we haven't been very
outside.
successful with grants for the Foster, have we?
We have
Those
not.
big ones.
The capital has just come back from Trillium, and if the Friends and the Foster are interested in applying for a Trillium grant, then maybe we could, work with them. We have been collecting some money into our reserve so that we could partner with them to do such a project. So So that's certainly something that we could look at, but I think for this year, we really need to get that column done.
Pam, and then Gord?
Sundry expenses, that seems kind of ambiguous what it really is.
Actually, Pam and I had a little discussion
Yeah.
about that, because I don't know what sundry for the Foster is. But it would be nice to just rename that miscellaneous, because,
Means the same.
one thing that we should do at the Foster is, we had no weddings, no rentals up there this year at all.
Wow.
Apparently there were some bus rentals that were interested in coming, and it did nothing. I think if we could just keep the 700 and maybe relabel it miscellaneous, and maybe just do even some social media posts to say, did you know you could have a wedding at the Foster? It doesn't have to be super expensive, but I think we need to do a little more promotion for the Foster, and maybe I'll try and recruit Kate back there to assist me in that, and we should try to get some more tours up there as well. So I think there's some there's a great possibility for revenue here that we just haven't been doing, so I'd like to refocus a little bit on that, and certainly $700 would be easily for us to utilize kind of advertising.
You could maybe look at the rate too. I mean, my son was married there. I think it was $450 for 2 hours.
Right.
It's a little expensive too, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll take a look at that and see if we can creatively come up with some ideas. But I think we need to bring some revenue in there, and I don't think we can just rely on the Friends of the Foster doing that. I think we need to do some of it ourselves and bring the revenue into our budget. So, I haven't told Kate this yet, but we're gonna relook at that.
The social media would be a really good idea, you know, putting that into the tourism part, just for the simple reason, I mean, coming up and creating some new historic experiences and having Foster in that, where people come for most part of the day, and, you know, really have that included as a package.
Yep.
Which would be really good, and get more people going in there and seeing it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think we could do a lot with this, and maybe even do our own. I mean, the Friends of the Foster do a great job of their own tours, and I certainly don't want to take away from that, but they're a small volunteer group that can't do it all, and maybe we can assist and bring some revenue into our own budget. So that's kind of what I was hoping to plan for.
Councillor Ballinger?
Thank you,
Sorry,
Mr.
next
Chair, and through to Amanda. And Amanda, you probably know this, but yesterday at Regional Council, we had a presentation from Durham Film. And they have a site, and they showed us where different films are shot throughout Durham region. And I can't think of a better place that people were aware of to shoot a movie or something than that Foster Memorial. So you can go on that site, and you know what? You can get exposure. And I just think it's a good idea.
Well, we did Murdoch Mysteries there. They've done a few things up there, right?
Yep, yep.
Councillor Hyatt, then Councillor Martin.
That money goes to our rental inside our budget.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, just to build on that, Amanda, I mean, knowing what goes into this building and all the rest of it, I think we as council have a different view on it. But I mean, anybody that looks at this from the outside and says, okay, we got a building that's costing us $50,000 a year and we're getting $1,000 back.
It's costing us 100.
The first question is, A, what's the long-term plan for this building, I guess? If it's moving towards an end goal, I think people could live with that, but I mean, it's, like, where do you see this building being in 5, 10 years? The same situation we're in now? Because it's not sustainable, pumping 50,000 plus a year into something that has no, I'm not saying to make a profit off of it, but there's nobody using it.
Yeah.
So, can you fill me in? What's your goal? I mean, I guess, from a staff perspective, where do you see this building in 5 years? Are we gonna be in the same boat here? Hoping and wishing for OTF grants to fix this or that? To me, I'm not seeing a vision for this yet, so.
Where do you see it, Gord?
Well, I would transfer ownership of this to somebody that wants it.
Nobody wants it, though.
Well,
We've been trying that for
have we
years.
explored those waters?
God, we've been
Minute,
amazed
guys,
with
this is a cemetery. You don't transfer cemeteries to other people.
I'm not talking about the cemetery,
No, it is Foster Memorial
Is a
is
cemetery.
classed as a cemetery.
well, then I would
There's-
leave it as such. I
Who's
think
gonna buy a building with 3 bodies in it?
that's a good point. I really don't know. So if we're not selling it, then we need to come up with a plan to market it properly. And when I see $1,000 on there, it tells me we're not doing that job. So whether it's we're charging too much or we're not exposing it, I don't know what the answer is, Amanda. I mean, that's, I guess, partly your job as the staff person here, but at the end of the day, we can't be pumping that kind of money in sustainably for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's just not sustainable, that's all I can say, without seeing some activity. And I'm not talking about making a profit on this again, it's gotta be used.
Councillor Barton, then Mayor O'Connor.
Yeah, and I agree with Gord. One line item that we don't see as a whole is a marketing budget. You know, we talk about tourism, and we talk about how we're gonna market the Foster, and how we might get more weddings at the museum and everything else. I really feel we need to think about all of our incredible assets and how to keep them full. 'Cause when there's more people in our facilities, then our, restaurants and caterers and all those people do better. And hopefully we can get more than $1,000 worth of rent. That's fine.
Sorry, Mayor O'Connor.
Yeah, let's remember, we didn't ask for this building.
I know.
It was handed to us under the abandoned cemetery. So welcome to reality again. And if you think for a minute we're gonna allow this building to fall down around itself, I'll tell you, I hope I'm not around. Because that is probably one of the most beautiful buildings we have in the municipality. And so we have to find a way, and it's just not up to staff, it's up to us as elected officials also. You have any ideas as to what we might be able to do with this building? But we didn't go out there and say, oh, please, we want this building. It was given to us, thank you very much, with absolutely not a cent coming with it, because the money had been misused, and we know that for a fact from the trust fund that was left to maintain that building. When we went and asked for what was remaining in that trust fund, there wasn't a cent left. And all kinds of questions came up, but it was a big bank that was looking after it. I can remember the details to this day of the discussion. It was just all swept under a carpet.
Any other questions on the Foster? Let's go to Uxbridge Historical Center. Next page, page 70.
Again, under building repairs and maintenance, we plan on redoing the church roof and painting at least one building, hopefully two. Currently, the 3 white buildings need to be painted, so those are the ones we're going to be targeting for 2018. And the Carmody House trough also needs to be done. So that's what's inside of repairs and building repairs and maintenance.
I know what it means, sorry. But what you've got up there, conservation for $1,000.
That could be boxes to store textiles in, or it could be anything that protects an artifact from year to year. So
Okay.
every year they buy X amount of boxes or other things that they need to make sure that the...
So it's artifact storage.
That's right.
Okay.
Any questions? Councillor Hyatt.
The ground maintenance, Amanda, is that a charge back to parks, or do we do that separately? What's the deal?
That's a contract for either grass cutting or snow removal. And the snow removal went up quite a bit. It went up quite a bit this year.
So it's not tied in at all with Parks Department?
No, it's not.
Okay. There was one other one I had. Just bear with me for a second. Donations. What would come under donations? Or from whom?
So,
Like, what's the difference between a donation and a grant, I guess, maybe?
right,
more
okay, so every year, the Historical Society, allot a certain amount of a donation towards a project. So last year, they donated almost $4,000, and it was for the Kid House roof. This year, they had a leaner year, and so they're offering, to give us $2,000 towards a project. We did give them the projects that we're doing next year, and they, have given us the $2,000 check already. It's just dated January 1st. And, so donations could be from the Historical Society, or they could be from residents or businesses in town as well. So it's not just the Historical Society donations, it's anybody who donates.
So if we had a rich benefactor that wanted to donate some money, that would be where that would come from?
That's right.
Are we actively seeking any rich benefactors?
Do you know somebody?
I don't, but...
We do sometimes get,
you could
some
talk to
nice-
my wife, but I don't think she's gonna forward you any money.
we do get some nice
Again,
donations.
it's a marketing kind of
Yeah.
thing. Are we out there
Yeah.
soliciting for projects maybe? People wanna fund a particular project, like to re-roof or rebuild the
Yeah.
Carmody House, for instance.
The new
They
curator.
may be more likely than to add money to our operating budget.
That's
If they
right.
knew they were gonna get recognition for a specific thing.
Yeah, our new curator has some really great ideas,
Okay.
and, she'll be putting out some ideas for you to look at.
So I think that's definitely an avenue that we
Yes, yeah, and when
could
I...
make huge
Yeah.
gains on that, you know.
Yeah, she's got lots of experience in raising money, so we're pretty excited about...
That's great. Oh,
Yeah.
good news.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll keep our anticipation
That's
going.
right.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, again, the marketing thing, you may wanna consider, Kate's in the front row, so sure. You may wanna consider giving her some of those jobs. I don't know what you can do about budgets, but I think we need consistent messaging.
Yeah.
And we're so close to the city, weddings and things like that would be a perfect spot. And I know we've had, what, 3 this year?
We had a lot of weddings at the center this year, yeah, more than 3.
More than 3, okay.
Closer to 6, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. But, weddings definitely it's a great location for a wedding, so that would be something that we'd really wanna encourage more of.
Any more questions? Let's move on to, tourism, page 71.
Can I ask Kate to come up?
Sure.
No, this is
Kate.
Kate for
Yeah.
tourism.
New curator.
Yeah, it's a great idea. We should definitely get a meeting together so the council can meet her.
In the new
I'll
year?
arrange something, yeah, in the new year for sure.
Is she working now? Is she working now, Amanda? She's not working now.
She's starting to work on, some grants, so she's been in contact with the Museum Advisory Committee already. She's been in touch with the Historical, Society
we're not
already,
paying
and
her.
so she's putting together student grants,
Good, okay.
and programming and working with, Rebecca is coming back again, so she's working with Rebecca as well. So she'll be putting some hours in over the winter before
Great.
she starts officially in March.
Great.
Yeah.
Now we are?
Well, she has 70, hours that she's allowed to use off-season, we call it, off-season hours. So she collects them and then we can either pay for it or she can use it in lieu, so one or the other.
Okay, all right, tourism.
Right.
Are you gonna say are you gonna do a little presentation, Kate, or what are you gonna do? Don't have to.
I don't
just
think,
didn't-
you know, I did the
I
year in
didn't know if
review.
you had anything
No,
prepared or not,
I
but-
don't, if you have any questions.
Okay, questions for Kate?
The fourth line,
Yep.
third line.
That is the, 404. The blue Todd sign.
$1,000 in this year, or is it, yeah, 1,000?
Administration fee, the same thing.
Right, so equipment that's for the tourism trailer, and that's sort of held in case we need to make repairs on the trailer, which we did not need to do this year.
You didn't use the trailer?
We used the trailer, but it worked well, and so
should that not be under trailer repair instead of equipment? Equipment to me meant equipment, like,
Yeah, we don't yeah, you're right, like we've used, the equipment for the tourism trailer before, we've used equipment for a table, we've used equipment for a microphone, things like that, so equipment kind of could be any of those things.
okay.
We have bought, just, it could be almost miscellaneous, but it usually has to do with equipment for either the tourism trailer or something to do with a tourism function.
Okay. Under, tourist guide, or the Durham tourist guide, we've decided not to do anything still in that guide?
We've got that under regional promotion actually, so that's why,
So
I
could
think
that
it's a double line.
Okay, so that line can come out.
That's right,
Okay. Under the volunteer appreciation, I think that needs to be, there needs to be some money, because I have suggested that we do something this year for the volunteers, for their support in the last term, as we did in the term before. So we need some money in there.
There's 5,000 actually, Mayor O'Connor, in the corporate budget to cover that.
It's in the corporate?
Yeah, there's 5,000 there.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Santa Claus Parade, has anyone talked to the Browns from, the Santa Claus Parade?
Yeah, I spoke to her last week.
And what about the money?
She's gonna get something ready for us. She's not finished yet, but I think she's,
So that
Very close.
number could go up a bit then,
yeah, she only had the one issue with the one band that she didn't take this year, right?
yeah,
So
okay.
she's gonna send something back to us
That's all I
shortly.
had on that, thank you. Oh, revenue target, okay, was the $6,000 made? And what challenges, this year do you expect to increase it?
So the $6,000 was not made. Launching the website in March, I think it was ambitious to sell advertising for a brand new website that had no traction, and we certainly found a combination of just lack of stats on how many people would be visiting, and also a little bit of discomfort from some businesses with digital advertising. I think people are a lot more used to print advertising, specifically in Uxbridge, so those were two major roadblocks. The visitor traffic definitely increased, especially September, October, November, and so we're heading into next year now with some actual data for the businesses. And we presented the trail map a few weeks ago where we're selling a combination of print advertising with the digital, so that people who are more comfortable with the print, they sort of get a little taste of the digital. And so we already have 2,800 booked for next year now.
Great.
So that really worked well. It's a great trail map, and the businesses have been really responsive. So we're already heading into next year ahead of where we are right now.
Okay, and, just on the trailer, are you having troubles having the trailer manned by volunteers?
Yes, we definitely could have used more people this year. We did recruit some new people. The Volunteer Tourism Advisory Committee certainly does most of the volunteering for the trailer, so that's definitely an area for us to look at, because we want to go to more events. So I think we want to expand outside of Uxbridge, events in, Stouffville or Port Perry, and we can't do it without volunteers, so we do
I
need
know,
more
'cause
people.
Roger, was seconded a couple
Yes.
times at the, train station, I know, when, what was it?
That was for Thomas, yep.
Thomas
Yep.
was here, so.
I trained him.
You trained him?
I trained him, yep.
That's
God, I thought he was untrainable.
Okay, I tried.
Can you, give me some hints, please? Yeah. Oh, Ingrid just said that our tourism went up after Roger was manning it, so.
They came to see the clown.
Yeah. Thanks.
Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. First off, Kate, I'm hearing great things about you, that you're doing a tremendous job.
Thank you.
The only thing I would ask when I look through the budget is, advertising and promotion. A year ago, there was probably $4,600 spent. You had a budget of $2,000. $437 has been spent, unless there's more to come. Use that budget on any kind of outreach you can. Whether it be trails, whether it be, doesn't matter what it is, but use it. I know you do a lot of things on Facebook and a lot of stuff that way, but use that, whether it's a radio station, whatever.
I think they probably cut back, as I understand it, on those expenditures because they realized that the revenue wasn't coming in.
We did, yeah. So we, certainly, yeah, we could use that money very quickly, and when we saw the revenue numbers were going to be down, we just went through the budget and thought, where can we cut back? And we also were able to find funding to advertise and just not pay for it. So we, yeah.
Good thinking. Go ahead. Sorry, I think Dave, you're next, then Pam, then Gord, then Pam.
Perfect. Kate, just remind me, how many hours a week are you working?
16.
Or being paid to work?
Yeah.
I know there's a differential there.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I know. And then, the other one, the one cheese beer train, what sort of reach did that have in terms of kind of revenue? If you're looking at advertising advertising in those types of magazines, what did that get us?
So it got us around 100,000 views from outside of Uxbridge. PR value is one of those things where there's a number to calculate PR value, but that's not a hard number. That's sort of a made-up formula for, what is the value of getting your name out there, assuming that some of that viewership comes back around to, for people to come and spend money in the town. So we were looking at about $70,000 of what's considered PR value. The great challenge is how to track actual hard costs of the value of something like that. But, if 100,000 people from outside of Uxbridge read articles specifically about Uxbridge, there's a portion of people who are going to come to the town. So we have to figure out, better how we're going to track something like that, but that's sort of the rough numbers. 100,000 views and $70,000 of PR value. And PR value is also, instead of buying an ad, so it's almost equivalent to what you would pay if you were to purchase an ad in a magazine. You're almost getting $70,000 worth of value, but you haven't paid for it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then one demographic I don't know if we're concentrating on yet. If you just go by the train station or the local restaurants on a Saturday or Sunday, there appears to be a lot of first or second generation immigrants coming out of Markham and places like that. Are we advertising in Mandarin, or have we looked at how to reach those people and increase that tourism spend?
So, yes, that's something we're looking at. There was a grant that just came through that specifically focused around that. So I've been talking to the train specifically. The money is for translating ads, and so I've sort of said this is the perfect, opportunity for you to be translating ads into Mandarin, Cantonese, and we are getting a lot of requests and emails and phone calls from Markham. So that's definitely a focus for next year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Was it you, Gord? Gord, and then Pam.
Thank you, through you. Thanks, Kate, for all you're doing. Using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything else? And the website, obviously.
And the website, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Out of those, what are we finding to be the biggest intake so far?
We get the most engagement on Instagram, so the most likes, the most comments.
Okay.
We get the most traffic to our website from Facebook. So although people are engaging on Instagram, we're not seeing the numbers going to the website, whereas Facebook we're getting a much higher we're getting less engagement, but more direct traffic right to the website.
So when you're tracking the hits, are they going for event information, or are they going for just general, how do I get to Uxbridge, or what do I do in Uxbridge? Have you been able to sort that out, or are they?
I've been looking at it ever from your comment at our annual presentation. I have been drilling down into who's doing what, and there are commonalities, so events is sort of across the board. People are looking for specific events, but finding that sort of the 30 to 40 age group is looking at parks and playgrounds. Okay. We're finding for the studio tour, we definitely had 55 plus, a lot of searches about the studio tour. Mm-hmm. So there are specific age brackets clicking for certain things. We found the historical walking tour was definitely an older demographic, and the Santa Claus parade was a younger, sort of 30, 40 demographic, yeah.
So when you pitch your advertising, do you provide those statistics to the potential advertiser? This is the kind of event or whatever that you should be promoting. Do we touch on that?
I have been talking to the businesses who are interested specifically about which months make the most sense for them. Okay. So we saw a huge spike around Father's Day with the website. Mm-hmm. It was actually the biggest spike of the whole year was for Father's Day.
Really?
Yes. So that was interesting.
I didn't get anything, so.
Yeah. What the hell's with that?
And I had run a short promotion on our Facebook about,
So it is event generated.
It is event generated. So some of the businesses are kind of looking at where the traffic's spiking, which months, and sort of basing it by month.
Basing it by that, eh?
And the hardest part is that so much of when there's spikes on our website traffic, it's when I've put more time into content, and if something pulls me away from content, the traffic drops. And so the numbers are sort of a combination of things happening in town and also the investment of time and content.
Well,
so
it's
this
It's
catch-22.
a factor too of age. I
yeah.
mean, let's say the sub-25s tend to be living and breathing their cell phone. So it's all about Facebook, Instagram, as you know.
Yeah. Interestingly, Facebook is
I guess depending
older.
on who we're trying to capture, we got to focus our advertising efforts on that specific group and what they're using, right? So, like Instagram, to me, I'm not a huge user of it, but my kids do, right?
Yeah, young kids use it.
And I know it's all photo generated as well. So how do you pitch, I guess, that idea to the potential advertiser, I guess? So you're going to have to accumulate those statistics. Is there anything central counties can provide to us, like just generalities about their successes, where they've found things that work better than others? Is there like something they could give us or share with us?
We can certainly,
the reason I ask that, I don't want you out there spinning your wheels on something that really isn't going to be productive. It could be using their ideas and these stats that you've already tracked, and then say, okay, if I spend 80% of my time doing this, we're going to reap more benefits than trying to waste time doing something that doesn't work. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just put it out there. Thank you again.
Pam?
Thank you. Kate, you've been doing a great job. I mean, you've pulled a lot of tourism value in from many different areas to really make up good dollar value that is going to pull us forward in tourism. I mean, we were very fortunate with the bloggers for the cheese and beer thing. There's been some other bloggers that have been in town. I heard that there was about 4 of them that were on the train within the last month. And there was actually a couple more that have a big following that were talking about the town separate from that were in for another event. The Heritage Walking Tour, that platform is possibly going to be serving a VEC committee wants to do an art walking tour. So it's going to be nice to be able to build off that same platform, saving, again, some money and putting their budget towards that. The feedback has been amazing for such a short period of time. So, like you're saying, that now that we're accumulating some small stats then, that we could see some of these, the revenue coming in a little bit better because we know where certain numbers are coming from, correct?
Yes, yep. So we have more data now about the traffic, and I think there's also, just for the fact that the website's been up a year, I think it's comforting for businesses to know that it's actually a permanent thing. I think some of them didn't really, believe in the longevity of, is this going to stay? Do I want to invest in this? So as they see continued effort, they're more confident in what we're doing. And part of what I'm doing is putting together a content plan so that it's not so up and down with when I can commit time to content to having more traffic. So businesses want to know that, any month they buy advertising, there's going to be sort of equal effort every month in content. So having, say what's the one thing per month that we're doing, so that no matter when you advertise, you're getting good value.
What Dave mentioned about contacting, like getting some things printed or out there in social media with Mandarin and so on, I've been actually talking to some of the committees, and we're trying to figure that out, what we can propose to do with that, because that should bring in a good number, because there was an article in a neighboring newspaper that talked about, they did a section about their town and in Mandarin, and it really brought a lot of extra people in, because they were able to communicate, know then, and understand what was going on in another language, so.
Great. Any other questions? Any other questions? No other questions? Well, let's go to Heritage Uxbridge. Are you done, Kate? You finished? Thank you. Heritage Uxbridge. This is page 72, Green.
I guess the only thing to highlight in Heritage Uxbridge is, under other is $2,000. Last year we used that for the historic walking tour. Central Counties matched that, and that's how we were able to get that on the website. Next year, Heritage Uxbridge would like to keep that $2,000 and use it to be able to get a consultant to assist them with heritage designation or or get some expert advice from a consultant who knows what they should be and shouldn't be doing.
Councillor Hyatt?
Just a question on the plaquing. I'd see you've got a 0 use. Is there a reason why no one's taking that up, or are we just not advertising it, or what's happening with that?
Maybe Councillor Beach could answer that.
Okay. Councillor Beach.
Pardon? No, there's some years where you get more. Actually, we had a couple this year. It's in the process of, for plaques, that they've requested for plaques. And so it's kind of up and down, and varying.
So do we wait till they approach us, or do we go and solicit based on? I don't know how you're operating it.
Sometimes they come to us, and sometimes somebody new moves in and we go to them. It really just depends. It's ebb and flow.
Any other questions on the Heritage?
Sorry, I didn't mean to ask you that.
Councillor Barton?
Is there gonna be something on the wish list for Heritage Uxbridge, or no? Like-
Is there anything on the wish list for Heritage Uxbridge? I don't think so. We're gonna hand out that wish list tonight, though. Before we go home today, we'll make some copies of it.
Okay.
There's 25,000 going to the reserve. I'm not sure what that's for. All right, do you know what that's for? Huh? Okay. I'm not sure what it's for. Okay, let's go to the pool, page 73. or 74,
I'd like
actually.
to get Carolyn to come up and assist. Or lead, sorry.
Go ahead, Mayor O'Connor.
Can you tell me, and this might be an unfair question off the top of your head, but Bill 148, okay, which is minimum wage, what kind of effect has that had on the pool's wages?
Approximately $15,000.
$15,000?
Yes.
Okay. And so $15,000 is what percent of the wages?
That I don't have off the top of my head.
Okay, so 15,000 would be 5% increase, so low?
Oh. About 5%.
Where do you get 19 from?
12.
Aren't we 22,000?
Where?
Okay, all.
Oh, yeah, but that's not all wages.
With Donna's report, Uxbridge camps and recreation were affected by about $22,000, all three of them together.
Including camps, yeah.
Including camps, yeah.
Okay, so $22,000
Was for Uxpool, camps, and recreation programs.
and that's all as a result of Bill 148?
Yes.
Okay. I think by the end of this, discussion, Donna, I'd like to know what the effect of Bill 148 is on the entire news, on the entire, township.
It's actually in her report, Mayor O'Connor.
Okay,
She
is
does
it?
have it, she just handed it out recently, so it's in her report. It deals with all
Oh,
the
that was
departments.
a special
Yes,
report,
the special
sorry.
report that we brought out the other day, yeah.
That was, we did that, I believe, in last
And the-
Tuesday.
And the total impact is 0.5% on our
Okay,
township
so
budget.
just so the public knows, and I'm certainly not against minimum wage, being increased, because I know, you go to the grocery store, you go anywhere today, it's unbelievable. You go to McDonald's, it costs you $10 before you come out for a so-called hamburger and a thing
Careful.
of hamburger, or, French fries and, a Coke. But that has had a huge impact on our budget throughout as well. So, I look at the the water and sewer. It's gone from, you budgeted 13,600, and it's jumping 172% to 37,100.
Yes, it is.
What is going on? We
The-
got a leak?
No. Thank goodness we don't have a leak. The Ministry of Health has changed some of the regulations, and we are required to do makeup water in quite a considerable amount. So what that entails is dumping water from the pool, which we pay in sewage fees, and adding that fresh water back into the pool, where we're paying for it to come in as well.
When did that reg come in?
Actually, it came in a couple of years ago, and we've been in negotiations with the health department, and we don't actually have to put in quite as much because of the age of our facility. We've been somewhat grandfathered, but we do still have to put a substantial amount.
Suggestion. If we have to pump water out, why can't that water be put into a tank truck? And if we were to have a holding tank at Fields of Uxbridge and put it on the fields?
It might be the same situation Bob had with the splash pad, where they wouldn't
Yeah,
allow him to do that.
and actually, in this case, the water that we're dumping is not nice water. By the time it filters through again, and when you do a backwash, you're cleaning the filter at the same time as you're emptying the water,
Forget that idea.
yeah,
Okay, but again, I mean, here's a case of thou shalt do, and I'm not saying it's wrong in this case, but our budget goes from 13,000 to 37,000 because of a decision that Queen's Park has made, without any consideration of what it's costing municipalities.
That's provincial legislation, is it?
Provincial legislation.
So, and next year, it's going up another 8%. So we've, in a matter of 2 years, we've gone from $13,600 to $40,098. That is crazy.
It'll triple, yeah.
Anyway, maintenance, we've gone, what are we doing for maintenance, first of all, considering that, we had 40,000 in there, and we've only spent 13, which is a good thing, but is there a big bill coming?
Not really. We've held back a little bit with we had a little bit more cost with ActiveNet, and at one point in time we didn't know what the furnace was going to cost, but we don't have any big bills. We have a couple of things that we still are going to be doing, and next year we're looking at replacing some of the toilets that are original to the facility.
So,
and
But the furnace isn't in maintenance, the furnace
is in
maintenance.
capital.
so my question is, can the toilets not last for another couple of years, or are they in that bad a shape?
The ones in the men's are in pretty rough shape, yes.
Okay.
Nobody cares
I
about
just
men.
don't like to see.
I know, and the men actually, sorry.
Like to see us spend a lot of money in this facility knowing that it's going to come down. And, you know, sometimes we put good money in and it's gone. Okay, so.
Is there an electrical project you're doing there somewhere?
We want to,
Sorry, I had to throw that in because I know it's there.
change, the lights, outside to actually have, automatic timers, digital timers, rather than the old timers that they have right now. They're not functioning properly. So the lights have been put in, and actually, yes, there is a bill coming in for the lights that we haven't received.
Any other questions? Councillor Hyatt.
Just a couple. On the new ActiveNet, are we finding an increase in people swimming, or is it just more convenient to book it?
Not so much people swimming as at this time, it's our regulars.
Okay.
What we are seeing is a lot of people, registering online.
Whereas before they did it manually, or?
Before they would come in or they would phone in.
Okay.
Some people are still phoning in, some people are still coming in, they
But do
don't
you
like
find
to
an
pay online.
increase or decrease in the numbers, or are they flatline, or what?
I haven't actually checked all of the numbers, they seem to be fairly steady.
'Cause where I'm going with it is if it is a convenience, which it is, maybe we need to promote it more so that those who had an issue having to go there and sign up can now do it from their living room, right? So.
Yeah, we've been promoting it on Facebook, it is on the township website.
Okay.
And as people are coming in to register, we're reminding
We
them,
tell them.
as well as
Great.
setting them up.
Excellent. One other question on other swimming income. What does that entail?
Other swimming income is things like Aquafit.
Aquafit?
It would be our, public swim, or not public swims, but, our, swim team fees.
Swim team? Okay.
So things along those lines.
So anything over and above public swimming, basically?
Public swimming or swim lessons
swim
or
lessons.
private lessons.
The Swim to Survive, that's an in and an out, right?
Swim to Survive is an in and out.
Does it come in there, or is it somewhere else?
And the busing for the Swim to Survive, on the bus rentals, different years it depends on how many schools I can get in the fall.
Right.
As opposed to the winter.
But does the actual income from that come into that category, or is it separate?
It comes into, grants.
Grant, so the 15.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're still awaiting this year's grant money.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a comment, and I said this when Bob was in here talking about the arena, and I know it's a different kettle of fish, Huck's Pool versus the arena. If you look at your 2016 net, 286, and then your 2019 net, it's 372. So it's almost 90,000 and change increase. What do you think that's attributable to, other than the Bill 148 obviously is a factor, but there seems to be an upward trend versus a flat line trend or a small increase? Is there something you could point your finger at and say, this is the reason that number is dramatically different?
No, I think
No?
it's that
Just
fees are going
increases
up
overall?
in increments for different things.
It's and I think the mayor brought this up earlier, was as far as capital goes, I think we have to be very kind of creative, because if we are moving in the direction of a new facility in the next 10 years even, you don't want to be spending huge dollars that can't be transferred, I think, out of that facility. So it's just something to bear in mind. Thanks, ladies.
Councillor Barton.
Yeah, thanks. You've got $1,205 down for advertising. Is that mostly Facebook ads? Because you do a lot of that.
It's mostly Facebook ads.
Okay, and your ROI on that is good, decent?
Yes, I notice we have an increase of registration after we do a Facebook ad.
Okay.
More than the previous session or the previous year at that time.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? Okay, let's go to camps, page 76.
I'll get Rebecca Harmon to come up.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Do you want us to tell us anything, or do you want us to go right into questions?
Just go right into questions, if you'd like.
Okay. Anybody any questions for Rebecca on the camps? They're always very successful.
Yeah, thanks,
Jack first. Oh, was that way? Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jack.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just, with this, bill coming through, and I know you hire a lot of summer counselors to work, how is that gonna affect your camps?
We did a lot of adjusting to ensure that we are hitting the target that we do need to hit. There is an increase this year with our wages. I think it's about $7,500. Just for the camps.
Councillor Hyde?
Yeah, mine was more of a comment. Congratulations again. I mean, this is, I think, the only budget we have anywhere in this binder that has it a
plus.
A plus in the black. I mean, it's a refreshing change. Just, are there things that actually that we could be doing as a council or as a corporation to sort of boost that even more? I know you guys are working hard, but I think maybe from the marketing side, is there something, now that we have ActiveNet, is there any possibilities that you see that we can really boost this, or not?
Yeah, our camps are such a unique part of our community. They're so important. You can't necessarily put a price tag on what it brings to Uxbridge and the experience that kids get for the cost that they're paying and the students that we're hiring. Just having everybody being on board with being positive and encouraging the community to look at this type of childcare. You know, kids are outside, they're integrating with nature, they're out in barns in the park, and we really unplug, and we want to continue with that relationship with the community. With ActiveNet, that's going to bring a huge change next year. In 2017, I've never experienced it before. Our whole team didn't experience it before, where there were floods of people lined up at the door, the phones were off the hook. We had no idea the capacity of, you know, the community really taking advantage of that 5% discount. So a massive number of kids were registered in March, with camp starting in July, and it was a huge, you know, hit on us, and ActiveNet came at such a good time. So this will definitely be a transition year to use the ActiveNet, and for families to be able to create a wish list of, you know, their 10 camps for the summer, and then just check out. It's going to be absolutely glorious, and it's going to make things much smoother, and we're
Great for you to
looking
plan,
forward
too.
Pardon me?
Great for you to plan as well, obviously.
Yeah, it's a great way to plan, and it sort of takes us out of this prehistoric, archaic sort of
where you're not waiting
style
for things
that,
to happen, you're making it happen.
Yeah, and we've loved holding on to that and, you know, interacting with every single parent on the phone, but this it just makes it accessible to everybody.
That's great. Well, my kids are older now, as you well know.
And they
But
were
when they were
campers.
younger...
So
are you, Gord. So am I, yeah, I'm not kidding. I've flatlined, so... where was my thought?
Sorry.
As a parent, when you sign up, you really have a list when you start. So there's hockey, there's, figure skating, so you have a list in front of you, and if you have the ability to basically plan it or book it all at one time, it's huge. Rather than coming back in 4, 5, 6 months and having to figure, okay, where was I? Did we book that thing or didn't we? And it's all right there now, which is, to me, is huge.
Yeah.
Even though there's a cost to it, and I understand from
Yeah.
the treasurer's point of view, but let's use it.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Any other questions on the camps? Councillor Barton?
I'm just looking at the revenue, and it's fantastic, but it is dropping off a bit. Can you explain, not that the revenue's dropping, but our profits are dropping?
There was a little...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So we've had the luxury of having, at the Healthy Kids grant, sort of back us in a lot of ways. So some of our expenses were taken over by that, whether it was staffing or T-shirts, etc. Next year we will have Healthy Kids again. However, from the end of September until December, for those 3 months, there will not be the Healthy Kids grant, and then moving into 2018, there will be no Healthy Kids grant. So we've planned for that. So that's where you'll definitely see a change in the numbers.
We're just getting really used to that revenue.
Kind of a luxury that we've enjoyed.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to? Are there other grants or something to try and replace that revenue?
We are always in the loop with those types of grants. The community really cares about keeping things going, and people send us things, and we jump in right away, and we do apply for stuff. So we've been very blessed to have those opportunities at our fingertips, so hopefully something does come up for the years to come.
Okay. Thank you very much. I know you guys are on it.
Any other questions of camps?
Provincial election coming, so you might see us
Yeah, lots of pots sweetened for that year, that's for sure. No other questions of camps? Great, thanks, Rebecca. We'll go to Program Administration, page 77. I guess that's back to you. Is that Rebecca as well? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions of the Programs Administration? No? Okay, Healthy Kids Program. You touched on it a little bit. Any questions of the Healthy Kids? No? Okay.
Gosh.
We're good, Rebecca. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Great. Trails, page 78. I shouldn't ask, there's no capital effects, Rebecca, or anybody else. Is there any capital effects? Anybody else?
No.
Just you? Yeah. Trails. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I wonder if we should get Dave Walker up here to answer any questions as well.
If we have any questions that need them, sure. Are there any questions that need them?
Well,
'Cause I'm
there's
sure-
going to be questions, I think.
I think when you're looking at the...
Let me, just,
Councillor Ballas, go ahead.
Okay.
thank you. Let me address this to Amanda, first. Amanda, what major things are we doing on the trails coming in, 2018? What bridges are we replacing? What are we doing? I know there's a number of things there that have to be done, so if you just kind of run through the things first, please.
Sure. So one of the things that I just want to draw your attention to is that we've worked by parks went from $10,000 to $40,000. I do think that number is fair. We are requiring that the Parks Department assist us a lot more in trails, and just even having the use of one staff person with a Bobcat can make volunteer work happen like in twice the time. So that is an essential thing that we need. So we need to work with the Parks Department in order to get equipment on the trails, to get the supplies to the trails so that the volunteers can do the work. Just recently I gave you a report that said how many hours that the volunteers worked on the trails, and they got 11 major projects done this year, so they were quite proud of that. And they do a lot of work. So there is a little bit of an increase in the budget on our trails maintenance, and a lot of that is gravel. We're looking at our trails, and there's a lot of wet areas. There's a lot of areas that were gravelled before, and haven't been looked at for 10 years and need to be, looked at again. So there's a lot of looking backwards here for us, and definitely bringing gravel into our sites, with the partnership of the Parks Department is really, key for us. Also, you'll notice that there's a bit more money under consultants. In fact, I will have overspent in the consultants, line item because I do need to get an engineer, advice and drawings done, for different projects. So even though we're not building any new trails, we really need that engineer experience. And I think we also need to, have an engineer come and look at our bridges once a year. Like, even if it's one day and they come and they look at half the bridges or a quarter of the bridges, and then the next year they come again. We need to do a bit more, making sure that our bridges are safe. And certainly we've done a lot better with getting rid of some of our boardwalks and using culverts instead. So those are kind of the things that we've been doing. We're always looking for easy maintenance, things that improve our trails, but again, are sustainable as best as they can be. We had a trails meeting this morning, and I will tell you that they were quite upset that they had put together a capital project list with three bridges to be done, or 3 projects to be done under capital, and I was told to try and spread them out. So I'm sure that the committee behind me would like to speak to that. We had in the original proposal was to do the Maple Bridge Trail, the Barton Bridge, and the Mary Hogg Bridge. So those were our 3 capital projects. And we pushed the Maple Trail back to 2019 and the Mary Hogg Bridge back to 2019. And I think the reason was to try and have, a stable budget over the years.
Yeah.
But the Trails Committee were most upset about the Maple Bridge Trail in particular, because they really truly think that that is a safety concern. Get iced up a lot. In fact, we got a complaint today that it was icy, and they residents around that area say that 4 months of the year it's not a trail that you can use. So
So do they want to switch it with the other one?
So what they would like to do is have 2 capital projects this year, which would be the Mary Hogg Bridge, which is on the capital, and the Maple Bridge Trail, which is a $20,000 project that's in the 2019 budget. The Barton Bridge was a project...
Amanda, you know what, how about we wait just a minute before we go into the capital? Let's finish up with the
Okay,
operating,
let's
if you
do
don't
that,
mind,
okay.
then we'll deal with the capital all in one shot.
Sounds good.
We want to get this finished first. I just want to say one thing on the operating budget. Something to note is that it's not really, this isn't an increase to the trails. It's what's really been being spent for the last number of years. It's just being allocated differently. So it's not really an increase at all, with the exception of a few minor things. Are there any other questions on the operating budget for the trails? There are. Councillor Hyatt?
Amanda, could you explain to me what Parks was doing, and then you have another category here? Why are they separate?
So I guess before maintenance was on old trails and trail improvements was on new trails, what I've done is, in my head, I've put maintenance is every trail except for the Countryside Preserve, and the trail improvements for me is Countryside Preserve, just so that it's easier to separate which...
So that 5 is just for the preserve?
Is just for the preserve, yeah. So that would be trail improvements in the preserve. And last year we moved money over from the Countryside Preserve Reserve, so that makes that easier to do if we ever need to.
I understand.
But those are specific to the Countryside Preserve.
So maybe we could add that to the sheets, Donna? Just
If
to
we
make it
could
clear.
rename it if that's what makes it easier.
So, I know Parks, as you just mentioned, is doing more work. What are they doing for the next year, I guess, to substantiate the 30,000 different? Do you have specific projects in mind, or?
Well, we,
Or are we talking about these capital projects? Is that what you're talking
no,
about?
we put together a list of some of the trails that we wanna address, and,
Okay.
we asked that, you know, a parks person be available X amount of times so that, they could be, there with the Bobcat. And, you know, the volunteers usually run from 7 a.m. to about 4 p.m. And the Bobcat just runs back and forth, and then the volunteers spread the gravel.
Right.
So that's traditionally like how we did it last year.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that help is so valuable, and, we really need to do, like, that's the kind of work that we need to do on our trails, and, and we need to spend a lot more time. And right now, we have amazing volunteers. I mean, the Durham Mountain Biking Association just picks up the phone. Steve back there has been amazing at recruiting volunteers, and, you know, it's nothing for 8 guys to show up, and do a day's work.
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, and again, it's phenomenal, the dollar amount that would equate to.
Yeah.
And I think what might be helpful for the public is when they see this trail budget, they think that's all money that this township is actually, that the
Lot of
manpower
volunteer work.
alone would be huge if we had to have someone hired to do this. So I don't know if there's a way to add that to the report, Donna, or is it?
Not really, it's not our,
I know it's not our thing, but
well,
I think.
it's not money, it's not,
But I think people need to know that, 'cause if they're only looking at the budget one time a year, which is now, and whatever the press report, they're gonna say, oh, you're only spending X number of dollars on trails or whatever. There's a huge piece that's missing there, you know what I mean?
That's a
We'll
PR
try to
mission.
continue to do that report each year so that you can see the amount of volunteer
and I
hours.
think it's huge, you know. It would be in the hundreds of thousands if we even had to contemplate this, or if not more. Thank you.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yeah, are you still having, concerns with conservation, the amount of paperwork when you're going into, wetlands or
Yep.
regulated area?
Yeah, so under consultant, you would also have, a Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority permit application fees. So that's where I put those application fees are in there. And certainly, you know, we're working with Lake Simcoe as often as possible, and it is time consuming and sometimes slow and troubling, but we work with them as much as we can. And the permit fees are in, consultant.
Is there anything that we can do? Pardon? Okay, I think somebody's gotta meet with them. I mean, this is craziness.
What I suggest is I'll meet with the Conservation Authority, go through the projects that have already happened, and review some of the struggles we've had with getting permits for the work that we've done. And then they can see some of the areas where we've been running into some trouble and where we've been held up. But I think it's a good thing to go back and review the work that we've done in the last year in any of the regulated areas and talk to them specifically about those projects.
I'd like to be in that meeting as well. Any other questions on the trails operating? Pam?
The work by parks, like, I mean, okay, you talked about the Bobcat, but do they not do the garbage pickup?
Yeah, so one of the things, you know, that's on the wish list is to do the garbages, to have somebody, I think it was $20,000 on the wish list for, a contract person to do the garbages once a day, so that will come up, I guess, on Tuesday. But really, we as, on the Trails Committee really support that because, we know that we know that the Parks Department is pretty much at capacity or even short-staffed. So if we could get rid of the garbage, 1 day a week for them, I mean, it's not gonna eliminate the garbage, they're still gonna have to do it another day a week. That allows us to have access to the park staff so that we can get the work done with the volunteers that we have. So certainly, you know, I'm glad that the 40,000 is represented in the trails budget from the Parks Department, so there's that shared resource. But, you know, they need more assistance as well in order to be able to help us.
So from parks, it's more expensive for them to take extra time to do the garbage than to hire an independent.
From what I understand, it takes them a day to do all the garbages, and they're doing it twice a week, and that's 2 staff. So if we take away 1 day, then that would free up 2 extra staff a week, so that would be very beneficial. And there is a lot of trails work to be done, and right now we have a huge volunteer contingency that really want to get out there and do it, so anything we can do to support that will make a big difference.
Any other questions of Trails operating? Okay, let's go to capital. I think it's about 86, I think. In the green, 85? Sorry, 87, right? 87.
So
Page
I'm-
87 is 2018 capital, trails. First one in here is Mary Hog, 20,000 out of the tax levy. 19 is 20,000 for Maple Bridge and 20,000 for Barton Bridge, both out of tax levy as well.
So the request from the Trails Committee is to move the Maple Bridge Trail improvement, back to 2018. They would like to get both those projects done. They're happy with the Barton Bridge being where it is, because right now we're, working with Stantec and, Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority to hopefully come up with a better solution to the Barton Bridge. So the fact that it remains in 2019 is fine, because we can, work on that alternative. We are trying to link it right now with the fact that the Barton Pond is being done, and, Lake Simcoe's already involved in that, so we're trying to get permission to do some alternatives at the same time as the pond's being looked at. So, hopefully we'll have some good news for you, and the Barton Bridge might end up being a lot cheaper. But certainly the Maple Bridge Trail is the one that, residents are complaining about, saying it's unsafe due to wet conditions, icy conditions. And this is a big job that volunteers can't, it would take too much of their time to do it. It's a big job.
So how bad is Mary Hog then?
Mary Hog Bridge is bad as well. It really needs its full deck to be replaced, and some of the supports need to be redone and reinforced. It's not a stable bridge over the years. It's definitely started to lose its strength, and it sways a little bit, it bounces as you walk over it, so it's a concern due to the multi-use that it has.
Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, you mentioned the Barton Bridge, which I think needs to be done. Wouldn't this not be the opportune time to do it if Lake Simcoe's there and hanging around? Wouldn't it be the time to get that done?
We did talk to Ben about that, and he didn't want to slow his project down, because as soon as you add something, you can slow his project down, so we don't
Right.
want to do that, but absolutely.
Well, it could be done kind of in tandem
yeah, we're
with it.
trying to do it in tandem, so we're already drawing up what we think is the best alternative, and working through the Lake Simcoe Channel to get that. And hopefully it's a good news story, and what we're proposing is not a bridge, it's something a lot cheaper.
Right. So, again, would now be the time to do it, or 2018 rather, be the time to, like if you're pushing it to 2019, isn't that kinda late, I guess?
I mean, we're thinking that the project could be under $5,000, so then it wouldn't be a capital project.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Could be different.
it could be done, we could come back to you and let you know that we were able to eliminate a capital project
Right.
with some smaller funds.
And I understand the idea of trying to balance it over several years. I guess, to the treasurer, Donna, is there a way that we could draw that 20 from a reserve or something in the interim, and then pay it back over 5 years or something? Like if the work needs to be done now, rather than pull 2 or 3 of them directly from tax levy.
So if council wishes, they could, move the Maple Bridge Trail forward to 2018, and borrow from reserves to fund that project, and then levy, and we pay back to reserves in 2019.
Can I make that motion? We could do it?
Sure.
Well, before you vote
Let's
on the
finish- Let's
motion,
finish some questions first, though, if you don't mind.
before you make that motion, I think that the money needs to come from cash in lieu of parkland, and it shouldn't be paid back, because basically Maple Bridge has to be rebuilt. And I think we can say that very clearly, that it's a rebuild, it's not an improvement. So I would make the suggestion that that you take it from cash in lieu of parkland, and it comes solely from there, and there is no repay.
Donna's saying it doesn't, don't, go ahead, Donna.
Well, you know what? Go
She's
ahead.
just saying it doesn't cover that, but go ahead, Donna, explain that.
Why doesn't it cover it?
It covers it doesn't recover replacements of an existing if it was enhanced.
So
or
then we'll
it was
move,
newly
I'll
built.
tell you what, we'll take it out.
Move it 4 feet.
We'll move it another couple of feet, and we'll rebuild it. Because if the deck has to be replaced, and you say some of the, supports have to be replaced,
Well,
you're
for the-
basically building a new bridge.
For Mary Hog Bridge, yes.
The Maple Bridge really isn't even,
The Maple Bridge is the trail, so there's,
it's not really even a trail as far as I could tell.
the
a
Maple Bridge
pathway
is 3 sections of the trail that needs
Yes,
to be
that
done.
needs to be done.
It's a big job. It's not so much the bridge,
So
it's
wouldn't
the
that
actual
qualify
trail
as a new
for
build,
Maple
Donna?
Bridge.
It's not really even existing?
Well, let's finish
Yeah,
the questions, let Donna
Mr.
sort
Chair,
that out.
I
Go ahead,
don't know where
Councillor
we find the money, but I sat in that meeting this morning, along with Councillor Barton. There's a real concern here.
Well, I'm trying to find you the money.
And I know you are, and thank you, Your Worship. I'm just saying there's a real concern, and there's people here today that sat at that meeting that I hope later they'll get a chance to speak. I think we have to address this.
So Gord's made a motion that he wants to move the Maple, Bridge Trail to 2018. And at this point in time, we'll leave the funding.
Maybe I'll amend
We'll leave
it
the
to
funding up.
see if we can
We'll
do
leave
it
the
from
funding
cash
up
in
to
lieu.
Donna, okay, and see where she can sort it out. But it's either gonna come from Parkland Reserve, I guess, or it's gonna come from anyway, we'll sort it out. But we'll get the job done this year.
Yep.
Okay, Donna's just gonna have to sort that out, Mayor Connor. It depends on the,
Thank you.
So that's a motion that Councillor Hyatt's made?
Yep.
Are
I'll
there any
second that.
Are there any questions on the motion? Debbie?
Just for clarification, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, so, it's the only thing we're moving is the Maple Bridge
Yes,
Trail
to two-
project from 2018 to from 2019 to 2018.
Correct.
That's correct.
That's it?
That's correct. And I guess I could say funds to be determined.
Creative, bookkeeping, Donna.
She's not allowed to do that, but anyway.
Donna, if it does help to rebuild the Mary Hog Bridge, we could do that too.
Yeah, if you could do one of them, that would be great.
If you need us to rebuild it instead of repair it, there is a better way of doing that bridge. Same cost?
Same cost.
Okay.
Sort it out, sort the dollars out after. Any other questions on the motion? Yes, I think that's Councillor Hyatt's motion is the Maple Bridge moving to 2018. All those in favor? Carried. Great. So you gotta sort that out before somehow. What's that? What do I have to finish? Oh, sorry. Just 2018 Ux Pool. Any questions on that one? The 50,000 is replacing the air handling unit at the Ux Pool in 2018? Yeah. Did you hear that? We have one more thing on the capital, that's the 50,000 for the Ux Pool, the replacement of the air handling unit?
Yes, I did hear that.
Okay. Any questions with that? No? I think that it's done, right, this year? Yeah, in 19 it's finished. No other questions? Of those? Okay. The rest are just, 2020, 2020, there's a South Balsam improvements, 25,000 of the tax levy for trails. No projects in 22. And of course, the Ux Pool is in the 2022 budget capital. Are there any questions on any of those pages? Councillor Barton?
Just, the only thing is, the Trails Group have a list of projects that aren't included in this
That aren't, sorry, what?
That are not included in this budget.
Yeah, okay.
So, I guess they're more on a wish list.
Yeah.
But for them, you know, they're planning ahead 5 or 6 years to make sure that our trail system is where it needs to be in 5 or 6 years. They're not included in this budget. I just wonder when they're gonna be on there so the council understand the cost moving forward, so we're not surprised. I don't know how we're gonna do that, Amanda. You may wanna work with Donna to figure that out,
Well,
but...
do we even have the information?
Yeah, so some of the items are increased to service, so that would mean it would be on the wish list.
Right, it needs to be on the wish list, Dave. They need to be on the wish list. There are additional services, right? So, like all the other departments, they would go on the wish list and be dealt with Tuesday. Are they on the wish list now?
No, 'cause they're
I don't believe they're even on the wish list.
Oh, they're not in this year's, they're not in 2018, so... Yeah, you could add them in there and comment on them down the road, but generally speaking, the wish list we deal with 2018, 2019. These were further down the road, weren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
It's fine, as long as they're on there.
So our wish list is 2018, 2019. Impact those 2 years in the tax levy. That's why we do 2 on the wish list.
Yeah, and the reason, there could be some Trillium opportunities in the future, so when we get them on a budget somewhere, it allows us to plan to make sure we have the matching funds for Trillium so we can apply for things.
I understand.
Okay.
But these are starting down the road, right? These are 2020 and beyond, aren't they?
Well,
So all I'm saying is, next year we have a new council, 2019, so it'd be a great time to start in 2019, putting them in with the new council.
Okay.
I think that'd be a great opportunity.
Make a suggestion, if we're looking at the stabilized funding, maybe part of what this can be is that you're putting, you know, $40,000 or whatever dollars a year into an account that's designed to deal with those big items. Some years you need 20, some years you need 30, some years you need 10. But the thing is, you end up with an account that actually has money in it that can build, and like, to your point, when an opportunity comes along to apply for Trillium, the money's already sitting there in this account. And so, it's just, you know, the idea is that over the length of the time that the projects would be, that you wanna hit that target at the end, but you'll try and leverage that money any way you can to try and make it more, right?
So I think it'd be great to come up with like we do with our fire department, like we do with our asset management plan, like we do is to come up with a plan and say, here's what we're gonna do in the next 10 years. And then bring that to council and have it approved. We're only approving 2018 and 2019 funding now. So to even put it in the budget for 20 and 21, 22, it doesn't matter. We're not approving 21 and 22 and 23. We're only approving 2018 and 19, which is why I'm saying if it's not happening on the wish list in those years, it's not being approved anyway.
I'll meet with the Trails Committee
Yeah,
and
and
make
I
sure
think
that...
come up with a long-term sort of, like we do with the other departments, and say, here we are in 20, 21, 22, 23, and that's the way to do it, in my opinion. Pardon me? Yeah, we will, but we sort of approve a 2018-19 budget. That's the 2 years we're dealing with. Oh, for 19 for sure, Right now, 2019 has a 7.5% tax increase, so it's gonna be changed. And a new council, so. Oh, I think Carolyn's still here. Okay, any other, I'm gonna go quickly to health and safety, and that's all we have on the agenda. Then we gotta go with, well, then we have the extra budgets, yeah, the fillers. But we'll do this one we should do very quickly. What page are we on with this one?
85.
85 in the pink?
Yep.
This is operating health and safety?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to speak to a couple of things, training was more this year. The DriveWise training came completely out of the health and safety budget. In the past, it's been shared between health and safety and public works. So that's for that increase. For 2018, our staff will be required to recertify their working from heights training. As well, we will have we've identified some people for certified member training, and of course we have at least one that we have to renew, as Nancy's position has been changed. And we've identified, the Joint Health and Safety Committee have identified another couple of new supervisors that we feel would benefit from some specific manager-supervisor health and safety training. And Under wellness, we've identified, it's almost a human resources type training, but, the EQ training, for staff, it helps them identify, different personalities and how to work with different people and understanding other people that they're working with.
I do, go ahead, Mary Connor. Can you turn your mic on, Mary Connor, please? Sorry.
What's your height?
So the working from heights, so that's anybody that works above 3 meters is required to have their working from heights training. It's usually in construction. The arena staff definitely have to have it. If they work on a skyjack or any of the lifts, they have to have the specific training, so it's learning how to use the lanyards and the tie-off ropes.
Okay.
And such.
One of the training sessions that you had this year was driver
training.
So should counselors be taking this?
Yes, in 3 years.
Yeah, the reality is, I know that's a township policy, and we've never taken it, have we?
No, you haven't.
Doesn't matter.
Are you
So,
As your employee of the township, we're supposed to take the driveways, right?
oh, God.
But the thing is, when your results are shared across the team, that's even better, right?
Yes.
Are there any other questions on health and safety? No other questions? Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Oh, go ahead, Gord.
Just on seminars and training, what's the difference? Maybe I missed that point.
So training is, anything that we provide here.
Okay.
So that's like our drive-wise training or first aid or any of those kinds of trainings. Seminars is if, the Joint Health and Safety Committee go to a workshop or a conference. Usually I go to the Partners in Prevention Conference in the spring.
It's just that your budget's been at 1,600 and you have only spent 800, so I'm just curious as to why that.
We budget for 2 of us to go, and I was the only one that went this year.
You're the only one that went, okay. Great, thanks.
Any other questions, health and
So
safety?
when do counselors have to take this driving training?
In 3 years.
In
Hold on.
3 years?
In 3 years.
Oh,
You've got-
good. Okay.
But actually, that's a township policy, right?
Yes.
So we could change that. Oh, I think we could. Yes, we could.
you know what, I'm just asking why. I mean, I don't care, training in driving doesn't bother me at least, but why?
We have to show, the Ministry
That
of
we
Labor.
we can get to the council chambers?
To and from work, yeah.
You're driving on township time, so technically, we've got some exposure for you being out there, so that's, and we train all our firefighters, all our works, like every single employee that works here that has to drive as part of their job, so I have to drive to the region, and I have to say that the training is phenomenal. Like this year, we did training on ice, and you're in a simulator, and you're driving in a snowstorm, and just, typical conditions, and kids are coming out on bikes, and some guy,
gear.
Does a U-E in front of you, and very few cars were hit, a couple people were in the ditch, but overall, I think everybody did pretty good, but it's amazing what it does as far as teaching you about the things you need to be careful about, including the use of your horn, which I think most people forget. Your horn is there as a warning, not to warn them and do anything else. It's just beep, beep, I'm letting you know I'm coming, but it's excellent.
And I think the policy is related to anybody that receives payment for mileage or for use of their vehicle, and we get
Correct.
car allowances, right?
Yes, correct.
That's why we're in.
Yeah.
There's no road rage,
No road rage.
Okay,
and
we'll stop here.
There might be.
I'm gonna
Results
do
were good.
questions now. I'm just gonna ask questions now of press.
Just a minute, are we gonna do livestock?
We're gonna do, I'm just gonna clear this up, then Carolyn can go, and then we'll go to council and township hall and a few of those little ones.
I have a meeting tonight at 7, so.
I think a bunch of us do actually here, so. Anyway, we'll get flying through. It's 22. We'll be done in a few minutes. I'll just go to questions right now.
I'll try to be quick.
Okay.
On the
Thanks
train
for your question.
station, It shows revenues, for 2018, projected to be almost double what they were in 2017. Can you tell me?
Where were you, Roger? I'm sorry.
I'm on page 68. And it shows revenues, for the train station almost double what they were this year. Can you tell me where that extra revenue is coming from?
Yes, so that would be from, leasing the train station to York Durham Heritage Railway.
I'm sorry?
Leasing the train station to York Durham Heritage Railway.
We have an agreement this year with York Durham where we're charging them for the use of the station. $7,500 a year, plus they're paying hydro.
Well, don't they already pay rent?
They haven't been, no.
So they pay in kind.
There was some in kind, and I think they paid the, fee to,
Basically, what they did is they looked
Metrolinx.
after the station, they cut the grass around
Yeah.
the station, they dealt with some of the cutting down on the lands in Goodwood. They're gonna continue to do that. They're in a position now where they're able to pay, whereas in the past, there were
Some
challenges financially. They're in a better position now, and the township's gonna lease them the station. They're gonna have exclusive use of the station. And that's what they'll get, is exclusive use of the station for that amount of money every year. And basically, it's covering the utilities and $7,000 in rent.
$7,500 plus
$7,500 in
utilities.
rent.
Okay, thank you. And the mayor was, saying that, that's a pretty cheap rate. I seem to recall that last year I might have made the suggestion that, has anybody ever considered, getting the Heritage Railway to put on a $1 surcharge to every ride they sell, very similar to the surcharge in the music hall, where performances they add an extra dollar to every ticket sold?
that would be something that would have to be proposed to them, Roger.
I'm
We
sorry?
haven't proposed that to them. That would be something that would have to be proposed to them.
Okay.
Well, I know,
We
but-
actually did it, we did propose it when we were talking about what they would pay us.
Yeah.
But as a way for them to generate funds for themselves, maybe $1 is not a bad thing.
It generates, yeah. Yes, for the municipality, yeah.
We talked about that, but then we landed on them paying rent instead.
Well, for example, $1 a person just in Thomas Train's $25,000, right?
Yeah, it could help to pay for those repairs. On the Foster Memorial, I'm looking at the revenues there. When the Foster runs their Friday night at the Fosters, and I think they have about 20 performances a year, and they get donations from the public. What happens to those donations? Because I don't see it listed in revenues.
No, but you would have seen last year, they donated, I think, $25,000 towards some of the work we did on the building, so they keep it and then eventually give us a donation back.
And they give you, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yes, on the camps, I'm looking at the net revenues, forecast for 2018, seem to be way below, what was realized this year, and I wonder why.
I think Rebecca answered that, didn't she already? Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, so we have a Healthy Kids grant, which is $125,000 per year. And, so we use that money, to do a lot of special projects, and, some of the benefits end up, being with some items in camp. So we still budget for what camp would normally cost, but Healthy Kids has definitely assisted in some of the programming items that we would normally have paid for. Like, for instance, this year, we needed to do a Healthy Kids program, and we wanted our staff to have all the same shirts on, so we bought our camp staff shirts early so they could do a Healthy Kids event, and then that was a cost that we didn't have to pay for in our camp budget because it was staff camp shirts, they already had them.
Okay. And are the camps running at capacity?
Yes, we run them pretty much at capacity, yeah.
And has any thought been given to expanding the camp program?
Oh, constantly. We constantly move our camps around, rename them, change them. We listen to the public, what the demands are, and we're constant moving with programming when it comes to camps, and we're always looking for, opportunities for extra revenue.
As a by the by, I've been to a couple of the Friday afternoon close downs of the camps. Those kids are having a ball. It's a wonderful, wonderful program, and I congratulate the township on that. I really
Maybe you'll
do.
write an article about that.
I'm
will
sorry?
you? Maybe you'll write an article about that.
I don't congratulate you very often. Thank you, councillor, thank you.
Any questions from the audience? First, right behind you, Dave. Just a minute. Grant, and then you, Dave. We've already got your name, Grant.
Yeah, I'm getting well known, but I can't pass up a number of opportunities here. Heritage Uxbridge on page 72 of the operating budget had about 4 items there. A couple listed at $300 and a $600 item, and then something called Other that was bigger than all of the other ones. It was $2,000. It just doesn't seem right to me that you throw everything into Other. That should somehow be broken out, right? Just as a general comment, Other shouldn't be bigger than every other item in that classification.
I think Amanda did explain that, but go ahead, Amanda, if you want to do it again.
Yes, so last year, Other was a special project that they did. So we have a heritage walking tour that's in print. And what the Heritage Uxbridge group wanted was to make it a digital mobile version. So that $2,000 was for a special project that was 1 year only. And we matched funding with Central Counties, so it was a $4,000 project. And now that historic walking tour is now available on our discoveruxbridge.ca website. And you can use your mobile phone and go out and do the walking tour.
So, when it says
Like I
Other.
said, it's a special project, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna do that again.
It's a one-time.
Right?
Yeah.
And next year, the proposal is for them to hire a consultant. If that is indeed what they do, then I'm sure that item will be renamed consultant.
Yeah, that's all I kind of, now that I understand, right? Page 70, the Uxbridge Historical Center, it looks like you get about $2,000 in admission fees. And I'm guessing that's maybe 300 to 400 people kind of visit in a year based on the individual admission rate.
I just got the attendance for the historical center today, and their numbers are quite high. Some of them are fee-based. Some of the revenue's probably not even in here yet, because their big event is the Halloween event has 600 people, I think, over 2 days, so.
But the admission line
Right.
must just be myself walking up to the door and paying
And having
my...
a tour.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
So the special ones, right? So we have to have somebody at the fee, right?
Yeah.
Do we know what that costs, to have that person? Is it worthwhile, I guess what I'm getting at, to collect $3.75 or whatever the entry fee is? All right, are we making enough to cover the salary of that person, or should we just say, you know what, it's free to come on all in, right? Make a donation on your way out, based on what you've seen. Because my honest opinion is, our museum is like every other small town museum. A lot of local history, they got a church and they got an old school and whatnot, and there's not really much to draw me there that even I want to pay $3.75 for.
But we don't hire someone just to collect money at the door.
No,
There's
we
staff
I know
there.
it, but just a portion of what they do though must be collecting the cash over the counter.
the-
That's what I was driving at.
The person that would collect the fee would be also the person who would give you the tour, and that student would be covered under a grant as well.
Okay. The train station, I was by there the other day. It looked like the chimney is ready to fall down. So you might want to add that to your maintenance list. It looked in really, really sad shape. And I suspect that your plastering, your investigation, that fella may come up with asbestos. That wall stuff was, asbestos was one of the products that went into doing lath and plaster. If that's the case,
We
there's
understand.
some big bucks there.
We understand.
Okay. The Foster, we were looking at revenue generating there, and maybe there's something that can be done in conjunction with the museum. buy a ticket for the museum, pay an extra $1 and go out and see the Foster, and we can arrange something like that. But I was by the Foster in latter part of October on a Friday night. There was a concert going on. I just about crashed the car. There were so many cars on the side of the road. It's a bad spot geographically. It was on a hill. There was no lighting. You know, you're trying to go across the street to go to the performance there. It's absolutely dangerous, right? We need to do something about that. This may be an opportunity at this budget meeting to think about how to fix that sort of a problem. But because of that parking problem is perhaps one of the reasons why you haven't been able to rent it for a wedding. If I have 100 people coming, I need to park 50 cars.
One of the projects that's on the regional budget this year is improvements for that section of the road.
So hopefully we can
There,
get some
there's
signage
two
or
hills
something.
there that will be taken down a bit.
That's a bonus. That's great. That's really good to hear. You talked about donations to the museum. Do we give a receipt, a charitable receipt for that? Maybe we need to make that a bit more well known. That it's, you know, helps me on my tax return. All right. Couple of more things before I let you go. Thank you very much. Camps. Gordon and David were very excited that we were in the black on the camps. I'm going to argue completely the opposite. All right. Are we in the black on renting the arena for hockey? Are we in the black for renting the soccer fields for soccer? I think we're finding we're in the red for those. We don't generate enough revenue on that. So in many respects, camps are kids, they're families, all right. To say that we're in the black, maybe we're overcharging for our camps, right? That may not be quite fair. So again, don't get too excited.
Yeah,
Do you wanna
I can answer that. Our camps are within market value across the region. So we try to be reasonable, and we make sure that we're fair to both the parent, the resident, and the child. So we feel that our prices are quite fair. And, I mean, yes, it looks like we're in the black, but there's also a whole bunch of things that aren't in this budget. There are staff senior staff, treasury, there's lots of other people that are involved in the operations of camps that's not recovered in this specific budget.
And I suspect that's also true in operating
In
the
all
arena
budgets,
and all
yeah.
that other sort of
Yep.
stuff too. We all suffer from that. How do you distribute that thing? Programs and administration, there was no discussion there, and yet wages and benefits over 3 years went from a sum of $40,000 to $84,000. Did we hire somebody?
I can answer that too. Again, the Healthy Kids Grant, 50% of a wage is being covered under the Healthy Kids Grant. When the Healthy Kids Grant disappears, that person's wage goes into the program and administration for recreation. So that is a luxury we have now because of the Healthy Kids Grant, but then once the Healthy Kids Grant's gone, that person's salary comes out of this budget. So that's why you see it there.
Okay. And I was very pleased to hear the extra money going into trails. I've been babysitting my grandson this year, and I push him around in a stroller, and I really had a lot of struggles going over a lot of the trails. The bridges were a problem. I couldn't get a stroller over a bridge, and rocks in the way, and Maple Bridge Trail and whatever, right? So I'm very pleased that you're going to put some money into the trail maintenance. So thank you in that
Thank you,
regard.
Grant. Dave, did you want to come up? Oh, sorry, Dave Barton, were you going to answer? Did you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna state, the one thing as local government that we don't wanna do when it comes to camp fees, we don't wanna undercut the market so much that the people that make their living off camps are using our camps to save money and not going to their businesses. So you wanna be about the same price as the dance camp that our dance studios put on and things like that. So you don't wanna totally undercut the market to destroy what the private sector are doing as well.
Fair enough.
Dave, do you want to come up? Thank you, Grant. Will you turn the mic on? Thank you. There you go.
If you're not familiar, it's Dave Walker. Today I've got the hat on of the Trails Committee. I came here to fight and argue and sell and complain, and all I have is a lot of admiration for the way you handled yourselves as our council, and Amanda for your presentation. Couple of things. I agree that with Pat that a lot of our operating costs are now apportioned to the trails to take responsibility for where their costs are. Cutting the grass and looking after is now in the right spot so you can see it. It's not necessarily an increase. And we had started our arguments this morning when we heard that 2 of the 3 projects had dropped because last year we had a budget of $87,000 or $85,000 in the capital budget. We spent 62.5 this year, and then it would drop to 20,000 next year. Now the Trails Group has a 5-year plan. We actually put a fair amount of work into it, and we meet 4 or 5 times on trying to get this budget argued through, try not to increase our rates, but it gets to you guys, and I think some of it was lost in the pre-budget. Let's keep things low. So that trail project that's been added back, we should have done last year, but we delayed it till this year. So thank goodness we're not doing it another year. The Barton Bridge was on for this year's budget, got cancelled last year, and as volunteers and the group will try and get it built this year anyway, under the cost or by volunteers, but we're just not giving up. We're going to move forward as well, and it's just good to see that you guys are listening. But that $40,000 budget, you're missing 2019's sort of forecasted budget. We're approving 2018 from the Trails Committee, but 2019, there's lots of work still to do, and it's not here. But that's next year, and we'll deal with it year by year. So just thanks. It's good to be on a team.
Thank you, Dave.
Good.
So we're going to adjourn now, but I think, keep in mind, we have, you can see in the schedule, there's some filler budgets, so we're going to do those first right off the bat. They should go very quickly. On Tuesday, we'll do them right off the bat and get them done. Oh, we have to do BIA first, but we'll get them in. There's a few there we have to get through. Alrighty, motion to adjourn, Councillor Ballinger. All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Amanda. Did you give me an agenda for next week? I don't need it.
I wouldn't have it, Debbie does that.
Yeah, we'll be finished Tuesday. That's it. Nothing else to do. Well, that's what